Pete. I am talking now for a sound check to you. So I'm going to go at the 10s on the program monitor is when I'm going to go. Aeronautics Live private aircraft auction will begin. Please stand by in 10 minutes. Okay, we're good. You look up when you hear them. You can't help but wonder where and why it flies. Because deep down, near your heart, either in whole or in part, you are an aviator.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Let's get it, boys.
Are you ready?
1-1 down the center with the 1-1, the other 1-1, get back in, 1-1 with the 1-1, down 2, get to the other 1-9-7, 1-7, now 8, give it to the 1-1, meeting with the 1-8, back down to the center, sold it!
Joint on the corner where the big boys play.
450, 450, now 75, get 75, come back in, 75, get 75, the other 470.
In today's auction, we're pleased to present a HATS biplane, a Cessna Citation II, an Aero Commander Darter, a Citation Bravo, a Piper Cherokee, a Citation Stallion, a Celiata Xenon Gyrocopter, and a Baron P-58, a Cessna 421C, actually a pair of them, a Cessna 172K, a Newport 17 replica, another Cessna 182N, and a pair of Learjets. Please join us as we auction these aircraft off to find a new home today, only on Assent Live Private Aircraft Auctions. Welcome to the Beacon Bar, overlooking Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field for the Assent Aeronautics Live Private Aircraft Auction broadcast. I'm your host, Halsey Smith, and over at the sales desk, Vice President of Assent Aeronautics Aircraft Brokerage, Jake Spengelsdorf, and his team are the conduit for the buyers and sellers and for facilitating getting these deals done. Joining me here at the host desk are three aviation experts who will take us through the next 90 minutes. Joining me now is experienced pilot and aviation lawyer at Jackson Walker, Jeff Gilmore. Jeff, today's auction lineup is probably the most eclectic we have ever had at the Assent Live Private Aircraft Auction.
Thanks, Halsey, and yes, it is. Auction days are special for me and for everyone here at Assent. This is easily my favorite part of the job, and I'm so excited to be here with some of our favorite professionals. Now, this isn't actually our first live auction, it is our 7th. But today, as you pointed out, it's our first live worldwide broadcast. It's also special that we have so much interest in this auction. It's the buying and selling here today on the auction block that's so exciting, and it's the best we've ever had. We've got more bidders registered than ever before. It's hard not to be excited when you look at this diverse lineup of aircraft crossing the auction block.
You know, I'm so excited to share with our audience the transparent auction process only delivered by Assent Aeronautics. The buyers, the sellers, and you at home will have the unprecedented access of behind the scenes as to how aircraft are bought and sold only here, live, through the Assent Live Private Aircraft Auction. In today's auction, each aircraft will be auctioned on a 5-minute auction clock, with 1-minute overtime segment possible based upon conditions that move the aircraft toward closing here live on the auction block. If the bid goes up or the reserve goes down, the time can be extended. If and only if the deal is close to closing, Jake can send us to an extra 1-minute overtime called decision altitude, where all bets are off and Jake makes the call if the deal closes live on the auction block or goes through our vectors to final process. Jeff, just how does the auction process work?
Well, Halsey, I'll get to the business in just a moment. I have to say first, my favorite part of this process, the auction process, is the opportunity to highlight all the great features of these aircraft. The aerodynamics, the avionics, just the overall craftsmanship that goes into building a great airplane or a great helicopter. Now, of course, this is an auction. I am a lawyer. I have to do what lawyers do, put my lawyer hat on and share some important legal information before we get started. All buyers and sellers are responsible for their own due diligence. Assent makes no representations and no warranties, express or implied, as all aircraft are sold as is, where is. Non-U.S. registration aircraft are delivered in the country of origin, and our award-winning auctioneer, Ryan Brewer's auctioneer number is 16490. To learn more about the bid process, or if you want to sign up to bid, please call the sales desk at 817-888-8227, or email jetsales@assentaero.com, or visit assentaero.com for the full terms and conditions of today's sale. Now, with all that legal out of the way, let's have an auction.
And thanks, Jeff. Thank you for going through that process. That's about as simple as it gets. And with that, let's have an auction. Mr. Brewer, will you kick off the first lot for us here today?
All right, our first aircraft up today is a 1993 Newport 17 replica, serial number 251, tail number November 124 Romeo X-ray. Auction is on with a $5,000 starting bid.
$5,000 starting bid's not too bad, Jeff, on this replica aircraft.
Now, I mean, this is really a piece of history. You go back to the First World War. That's the first time we saw airplanes in combat, and it was cutting edge at that time. You look at this airplane; it basically has the power and the weight of a Cessna 152, which is a fine training aircraft. But at the time they built this plane in the 19-teens, this was as good as it got.
It's amazing. This particular aircraft, as it has so much woodwork in it, a wood propeller, wood, a lot of wood construction here, and this is a replica, by the way. But I find it just fascinating how they have the stick and tube, if you will, construction.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the guys who put on the goggles and put on the scarves and hopped up into this cockpit knowing that flight had only been around for a few years, and now they got a machine gun in front of this thing, and they're going up against the Red Baron. This was what many people thought in World War I, the most maneuverable, the best performing plane, and lots of historians have said, man, if we could have put the Red Baron in this plane, how many more air-to-air combat kills would he have had with the superior equipment of the Newport 17?
Well, this one particularly has right over 1,000 hours time since major overhaul on it. I think that's a very compelling, proposition for this aircraft. It was had inspection, removed for service. The engine was, I think, a top overhauled in 2013. I think the paint is certainly a 9 out of 10 based on this particular aircraft. I think somebody's going to go home with this one today and have quite a bit of fun.
It's going to be a fun aircraft. Whoever gets this, we're in Dallas, Texas. We're about 300 yards away from an active runway at Dallas Love Field. I wouldn't want to take this plane from Dallas to, say, Seattle for a cross-country flight, but just around the patch, show this thing off, go get a $100 hamburger. You're going to stop every single person on the ramp if this is the plane that you are taxiing up in.
That's exactly right. You know what I think so fascinating for me about this plane is that it truly puts aviator in aviation. When you think about the stick, the rudder, the overall just aspect of history of this aircraft, I'm fascinated by the overall approach to it. And it's so much fun to fly aircraft like this. As we talked about here before on the show, I have the world's oldest flying twin Bonanza, and it's really an heirloom in our family. And I think this aircraft could certainly be an heirloom for somebody today.
Yeah, it is. It's a piece of history. It's a fine looking airplane. And if you're a military buff, this is really the embryonic stage of military aviation, and at the time, this was the air superiority fighter. This was the best that there was in the world.
Well, it has a few modern avionics in it, transponder obviously, and a few other things included in this aircraft, but it has a smoke system. I think that's pretty interesting. I don't know about you, but I can certainly see myself buzzing around the neighborhood around this one, dropping a little smoke in the sky. Maybe you think it'll do a loop, Jeff? I don't know.
I wouldn't want to try a loop in this. I mean, I know these planes, they weren't really easy to fly back then. I mean, this thing has 110 horsepower. If you think that's the greatest thrust to weight ratio that aviators had of that day, you just got to tip your hat to these guys. They got into these planes, turn of the century when aviation was just starting.
I'm interested to hear what David and Danny Brigham think about this aircraft. To me, that's might be pulling some G's there. If we ask Danny about that one with that stick as well. Well, do we have any action over there at the desk, gentlemen? Do we have any bids coming in on this Newport replica?
We do, actually. We have a $5,000 bid that just came in, and looks like we have a $6,000 bid just came in from Argentina.
$6,000 bid from Argentina. Jeff, it's interesting that we really do sell aircraft here worldwide. Let's take a minute to talk about that with Assent Aeronautics. Because our buy and sell process is extremely transparent, we allow buyers and sellers to match anywhere in the world and really bring them together to have a seamless, smooth transaction. The Assent Private Aircraft Auctions is a seamless closing process through escrow that allows buyers and sellers to have comfort in the aircraft that they buy. We only represent airworthy aircraft. And on top of that, if an aircraft does have squawks that we're aware of, we disclose that inside of our digital data system on our website. If you have any questions about this aircraft or the other 17 aircraft coming up for auction today, please join our website, www.assentaero.com. or you can give us a call, 817-888-8227. That will ring right here live to the bid desk. One of our great sales guys over here, led by Jake Bengelsdorf. You know, Jeff, one of the things about this airplane that we go back to is its power to weight ratio. An empty weight, a gross weight of 690 pounds is what I'm reading on this. I'm sorry to have to read that off there, but I wanted to double check. It's not very many times you see a 3-digit gross weight on any aircraft in the United States.
Right, and when you got 110 horses up front, normally that's not a whole lot, but that's some pretty good power to weight ratio right there. You can see why this was a feared fighter in World War I.
What is that, almost 6-to-1? A little under, right?
It's a pretty good ratio. We've had warbirds at our auctions here. I mean, every category of flight we've had at these auctions. Normally, warbirds are associated with World War II, and we've had several of those. They were beautiful aircraft. This is another first at the Assent auctions. This is a World War I warbird.
It's the first time we've ever seen it cross the auction block. I think there's about 30 seconds remaining on the shot clock here. I'm not sure the action's here today to sell this aircraft. Jake, what are you seeing?
Yeah, we have topped out right now at 7,000. And looking at the clock, it looks like we're going to be moving this bird vectors to final.
It's going to go vectors to final. You know, some days, this is a great point, some days in certain aircraft, we don't have the buyer action to be able to sell them for a price that they're worth. So we exercise a simple process that we call vectors to final. Vectors to final allows us to work for, right after the auction, 30 to 45 days to bring buyers and sellers together to bridge that gap and make sure that deals get done and aircraft change hands for the better. You know, Jeff, we've had a lot of great experience with vectors to final. How do you feel about that?
I think it's really kind of the beauty of this process. The most exciting way to sell these planes is live right here on the block, and that happens, and it's always fun when it happens. But a lot of the time, you just need that extra 30 to 45 days to work with Jake and the sales team here at Assent Aeronautics to get that last gap bridged, and it's very effective. We've seen lots of airplanes close in vectors to final.
You know, it's absolutely, I think we see a lot of aircraft that vectors to final. It sobers up some sellers, really brings buyers together to find a good number to let these aircraft go. You know, with that, I think we're going to move on to the next aircraft in our auction process. This aircraft is a fairly exciting aircraft. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the Apollo Delta.
I had to look up the Apollo Delta. You know, this is a small plane that is very, very sporty. I've seen it in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I had a chance to fly it last night. We got some great footage here. This is a sporty little light tricycle helicopter, tricycle airplane that is a really, really good performer. And if you're flying in good weather with some good scenery, I can't think of anything better to fly than this.
It's incredible. Let's get this auction going, Mr. Brewer.
That's right. Our second aircraft up for auction is a 2017 Apollo Delta Jet 2. What a fun aircraft. Back to you.
You know, this aircraft, I think we've got some real interest in it today. I've talked to a couple of buyers on this personally in the last couple of weeks, and I'm interested to see where it goes. You know, it's basically a powered hang glider, ultralight aircraft, Jeff. I mean, how many horsepower does this aircraft have?
We got 100 in this thing, and kind of like the Newport 17, very light aircraft, so 100 horses are going to get you up and get you going pretty fast. It'll top out around 100 miles per hour. It cruises at about 80, but you really don't need to go any faster than that. If again, you got good weather and you got something good to look at outside, this is a really, really fun way to spend an afternoon.
Well, you know, what kind of engine is that in the back, Jeff? Do you know? Is that a Rotax, or am I mistaken?
That is a 4-cylinder Rotax.
4-cylinder Rotax. It is spinning a 3-baited composite prop.
That's right.
Yeah, and do we have any avionics in this Apollo Delta? I'm not familiar with the package. It doesn't look like maybe an altimeter. Is that it?
Yeah, we're going to have a very basic set of avionics here because I wouldn't want to go on any hard IMC flights for cross country in this guy.
Yeah, that one's not necessarily cleared for final in the middle of a Cat C. You know, that's interesting. Well, is this aircraft built in the United States, Jeff? I really don't know much about this. I know I've seen a couple of them in person over the years. I saw one in Northern California, but I don't know much about them as far as that goes. Are they U.S. built?
They're built in Hungary, and I got to say the only time I've seen them in the wild, so to speak, is out in San Diego. There's a beautiful golf course out there, Torrey Pines, kind of on the bluffs of the Pacific, and there's some great updrafts right there. So you get some actual hang gliders out there, and you get some of these ultralight hang glider type aircraft. And gosh, it looks so much fun. I mean, I thought I was having fun playing golf there, but I just kept looking at those guys flying.
You know, it's amazing. It comes literally in a shipping crate. That's my understanding, which I know it's very James Bond-esque. I feel like you open up the crate, you literally wheel this thing out, you pop open the canopy, and next thing you know, you're in the sky. Is it really as simple as that, Jeff, or am I over exaggerating that?
It's not an exaggeration. It's a simple aircraft, but that doesn't mean it's great or not great. It is a great, fun little VFR sightseeing flyer.
I would love to take one of these up. I see myself in the mountains, maybe California, Arizona, catching those thermals and really going up. Do we have any action on this at the sales desk?
Yeah, we do. We got a bid at 10,000, and I was hoping you were gonna chime in. There was a Apollo that we had down in Austin, not me personally, but it would fly over the lake where we lived, like every night at sunset. And I just thought, I have made it when I can do sunset cruises in a glider like this every single night. It's so cool. So whoever walks away today with this bird is going to be a happy camper.
Absolutely. This one's currently located in Colorado, delivers out of Colorado to a location of your choice. It does come in a shipping crate, so it can be transported across the U.S. and is able to be shipped internationally as well. We look forward to seeing your bids today, so please send them in. Jeff, I go back to one thing, and from Hungary, the carbon fiber construction here is just really interesting. That's got to be something that just really makes these things so special with that carbon fiber, gets it light, able to really fly, in the altitudes that you're looking for.
Well, you said it best right there. I mean, weight is always something that we're concerned about in aircraft, but when you go into the ultralight, it's just imperative that you get the lightest craft you can get so you can get everything you can out of that 100 horsepower.
That's right. The only problem I have with this aircraft is your windscreen is your helmet. If there's a short between the headsets, does that mean it's between your headset and your passenger's headset, or does that mean it's your headset?
I don't know. I mean, the footage here looks so cool, and you can see basically like a race car driver helmet on both occupants here. And man, I would be wearing one of those if I was taking a spin in that thing. But man, it would be fun to do.
It's incredible. I don't know. I think we're running a little tight on time on this. Sales desk, we having any more action over there?
Yeah, actually, looks like we're up to 20,000 on this bird. There are active bids coming in. About a minute left.
About a minute left on the shot clock.
About a minute left on the shot clock.
Absolutely. Well, 20,000 moving this price up on these. I hear they are in high demand, Jeff. I know they built a number of them. Did you ever find out how many they built? I'm not sure. I haven't seen that. Figures.
They built about 1,000 of these.
Really?
So they've had some success. And again, I had to look this up this week, and it immediately hit me because it's kind of the default aircraft on the, not the new Microsoft Flight Simulator that came out last year, but Flight Simulator X. That's the default Let's Go Fly aircraft. And I messed around with it a little bit, and man, taking it down into some canyons, and not that I'd recommend that, but this thing is it's a very maneuverable plane.
Well, I'm hearing we have 15 seconds remaining. Jake, are we going to close the auction?
We're going to put a final warning out.
Final warning? Are you going to extend? We had a reserve move or a big bid, so we can extend for a minute?
We didn't have a reserve move, but you never know what can happen in the last 10 seconds of an auction. So
let's see what happens here as we have a final countdown.
If MJ hits that final shot.
Well, this one hopefully has a new home today. It would be exciting to see it sell here on the auction block. Certainly is a great aircraft. So click bid, put your best offers in. The best deals are made here on the auction block when both the seller and the buyer are motivated to get a deal done. The best prices are always had on auction day. So please don't be afraid to hit that bid. We look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, Halsey, looks like we've topped out at 20, and we're going to move this to Vectors to final.
It's going to go Vectors to final, this aircraft as well. So this Apollo jet is available through the Vectors to final process. If you have an interest in this aircraft, please contact us at 817-888-8227. Ask for Jonathan Johnston or Jake Spangelsdorf or Nick Key, one of our 3 sales associates who can help you with this aircraft, and they can certainly help facilitate getting this aircraft shipped to your home. We look forward to seeing that in the coming days. Hopefully we can see that one cross the finish line, Jeff.
That'd be a fun one to have. And I mean, the fact that it's in Colorado tells you right there it's got plenty of power at a higher altitude.
That's right. It does. And it's got to be a lot of fun to fly up there as well. Well, as we get forward here, we have another aircraft on the auction block. This one from France. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to help me with it.
Sure. I had to look up this one too. I'm used to all the fixed wing and the rotorcraft that we've seen at all of our auctions so far. This is another first. This is an auto gyro. This is a really, really neat plane out of Poland. It's kind of like what we just looked at with the Apollo jet, with just a little bit more encapsulation of a cabin and a cockpit. But again, very light, very maneuverable, very fun.
So my understanding is that this is a Cellier. How do you say it? Xenon?
It's Cellier.
Cellier.
I don't know.
It's
the resident Frenchman in our company, well, Englishman who speaks French, was like, it's Cellier. It took me about an hour to get it down.
Cellier.
That's not bad.
Incredible gyrocopter without much more delay. Mr. Brewer, will you kick this one off for us?
Oh, that's right. Our third aircraft is one of my favorites. I'm really excited about this in the 2011 Cellier Xeon 2, tail number November 402 Echo Delta. The auction is underway, and we have a $10,000 opening bid.
$10,000 opening bid. That's a good, strong starting opening bid, Jeff, for this aircraft.
And again, we got another really fun aircraft here, and I wouldn't want to take this one from Dallas Love, to Maine under any IFR conditions, but good weather, good afternoon. What a way to go. Low and slow, taking all the sights. Plenty of power, 115 horse here from another Rotax engine. I think this would be a lot of fun to fly on a nice day.
It's amazing. I think this aircraft only has 65 total hours on the airframe. Tires look brand new. Has this thing even been flown, Jeff? I mean, literally, look at those throttles and throttle quadrant. This is interesting. Now, I'm a rotorcraft guy, rotorcraft head. I'm not sure that I'm prepared to go fly this thing. It looks incredibly fun. But I just don't know the gyrocopter aspect. Is that a separate rating, Jeff? Not even sure.
I don't know. I've never flown a gyrocopter, but it looks like it's kind of a hybrid between an airplane and a helicopter. So I think you'd probably have to have an understanding of a little of both ways to fly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If I could jump in here, actually, I was speaking with one of the head sales guys here that actually sells these things brand new and has been in the gyrocopter space for the past 8 years. Fixed wing guy through and through, and he said, no way you're going to get me up in the air on one of these things. And he was at a show, and they talked him into it, and he said, I haven't flown fixed wing since. It was the most fun I had ever had flying. And the cool thing about it is you're already in auto rotation. So I'm sure when the Brighams come up here, they can talk about this ad nauseum, but it's already basically an auto rotation. It's not like a powered structure. So you're flying, and then you just get propelled by the thrust on the back. So I kind of want to try that thing. I'd go.
Absolutely. Again, I think this is the James Bond collection, Jeff. We have had 2 James Bond aircraft back to back. Didn't they roll one of these out in one of the James Bond films as well?
I feel like I've seen Roger Moore in one of these before, which is good news for Jake. I know Roger Moore was 6'4". Jake, VP of Sales, probably 6'5". Maybe if you take your cowboy boots off, you can get into one of these. It looks like a lot of fun to fly around in.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Well, I'm always fascinated by the Rotax engines. I know a lot of people don't like those engines, but the history of those engines is interesting as they continue to develop and get stronger and stronger. And then always with the 3-bladed composite props. I mean, they seem to just put out a lot of thrust for what they are. And I hear they run on like MoGas.
Yeah. Well, there's some really good composite prop makers in Europe. With MT Prop makes great propellers. They're all composite. They're light. They perform well. They're quiet. This aircraft right here, like you said, beautiful 3-bladed composite. Sure, it's great on weight savings for an aircraft like this that's conscious of weight. What a neat. I mean, again, a new type of aircraft. If you would have asked me last year, like, what else is there? I would have been wrong and said, that's it. We've got everything. We've got warbirds, we've got turboprops, we've got jets, we've got pistons. And already today, we have 2 new types of aircraft that we've seen come across the block.
This one is interesting, too, because it doesn't require a paved runway. So you can land this aircraft on an unimproved runway. And for people who are, what I'll call farm and ranch flyers, like these, I see the guys on YouTube, Fat Tire Cowboys, right? And they land on, these unimproved runways. This is interesting because it's a little bit of a helicopter and a fixed-wing aircraft that can then do some of these things that are not always at the, your local hometown airport.
If I could chime in, I feel like Bear from what is it, College Game Day? You know how they pan over to the sales desk? That's how I feel. He was saying, 20, if you've got 20 knots or 25 knots and you're taking off, it'll take off in about 10 feet and it'll land in 0 feet. So it's incredible. You're just basically, oh, okay, here we go.
That's
right
awesome.
off the ground.
That's great.
The gyrocopter too, for this particular aircraft, I am told that it has the turbocharged engine on it and produces about 122 horsepower. That again, power to weight ratio is pretty impressive.
That'll do it. And I'm sure that this is more of the rural man's airplane to take advantage of some scenery. Not that you couldn't fly it right off here at Dallas Love Field, but if you've got a ranch, even if you're high altitude, that engine's got enough oomph to it that you're going to, like Jake said, it's going to get up quick, it's going to stop quick, and you can see some really nice scenery, low and slow, and take it all in. What a way to fly.
That's right. Well, we've got about 10 seconds left here, roughly, on this auction. What are we seeing at the sales desk? We see any strong bids, or is it just the market not there today for this aircraft?
We petered out early on the bidding activity. We're going to take this bird vectors to final.
Vectors to final. Well, this aircraft, it needs a good home. Can't give iron away here. Can't give away aircraft here. It's got to be a fair price. That's why we have the reserve system and the vectors to final process. If you're interested in this aircraft or one of our other aircraft, please contact us or go to our website at www.assentaero.com or call us at 817-888-8227. You can always click extension 711 or 710. Looking for Jake or JJ at the sales desk. We appreciate the bidders on that aircraft, and hopefully the buyer and sellers can come to an agreement here in the vectors to final process. Well, with that, we've got to step aside to pay a few bills, so please stay tuned. We've got a few messages. We'll be right back after this break with the Assent. Coming up next after these messages, a 2018 HATS Classic biplane will be followed by a Piper Cherokee 28 from 1966, and the Aero Commander Darter, one we've not seen before, across the auction block. Stay tuned here at Assent Live Private Aircraft Auctions for these aircraft and the others to follow.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer, actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Amstat Aircraft Valuation Tool, calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. Amstat, information that moves you forward.
Woke up this morning with the sunrise in my eyes. Just like a new day, a breath of fresh air in my life. I don't know how, don't know why, but I'll be toasting all my life.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, AvBuyer, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Let's meet the players of Assent Aeronautics. We're blessed to have one of the world's finest teams in aviation. I'm Halsey Smith, the founder and CEO. All that capability, the avionics up front, you just can't beat this aircraft for the better. I'm joined by Jeff Gilmore, outside counsel and lawyer for Jackson Walker.
This is the beauty of the Assent auction. We're bringing buyers and sellers together.
And Jenk Bengelsdorf, vice president of Assent Aeronautics Brokerage.
Sold it.
Our partners, Danny and David Brigham, co-founders of Aero Brigham, the finest helicopter MRO in North America.
You're hanging your life on this man's work.
And the auction's on. Here we go, guys. What do you say?
And Morgan Hobson, world champion auctioneer.
We have sold it.
JJ Jonathan Johnston, vice president of Assent Aeronautics Brokerage Division.
Come on, let's go. We got this. We got this.
The team at Assent proudly serves you through the Assent Live private aircraft auctions.
So I feel every day.
Welcome back to the Assent Live private aircraft auction here June 17th to the Beacon Bar, high above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field. We've been joined here today by David and Danny Brigham, co-founders of Brigham Aerospace and technical partners of Assent Aeronautics and the Assent Live private aircraft auctions. We're so happy you guys could join us here today. We're looking forward to kicking off this next aircraft and look forward to having a chat about these birds as they cross the auction block. With that, our next aircraft is the 2000, I think it's an 18, Jeff.
That's right.
Hat's classic biplane. This is a replica, I think, of another age-old aircraft. And with that, Mr. Brewer, can you kick this off for us?
Oh, that's right. Our fourth aircraft today is the 2018 Hat's classic biplane, serial number 099, tail number November 15, Foxtrot Delta. The auction is underway, and we have a $10,000 opening bid.
$10,000 opening bid. You know, I hope this aircraft sells today.
I do too. We've had a lot of fun at aircraft. This is no exception. We're just going right through the very maneuverable, classic. It's almost as like a Pitts biplane, which is such a fun aerobatic biplane. If you're in Texas and you're viewing, you're rooting for this plane a little bit more because they make these right in the heart of Texas in New Braunfels.
I did not know that. It came out of New Braunfels.
I didn't know they're made here.
You know, Danny, this is one of your favorite aircraft crossing the auction block today, isn't it?
It is. The craftsmanship on this thing is really done well.
We got 15.
The fit and finish on it is great. It's got a 0320 motor, 150 horsepower, 180 depending on what iteration you got. It's going to be real maneuvered, perfect airplane, low and slow for your dawn patrol, or if you're flying at dusk in the sunset. Great airplane.
Truly an aviator's aircraft, right?
Absolutely. If you're a stick and tail dragger guy, you just want to roll upside down, see how tight your seatbelts are. It's a great way to see the country.
Yeah, this aircraft is, I think I heard a bid. Jake, is that 15? Did I just hear 15?
We're in 20 now.
We're at 20.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool.
So built in New Braunfels. You know, David, have you ever been down to New Braunfels and see these built down there?
No, I haven't. I'd love to go down. I had no idea they're built here in Texas. That'd be such a cool place to go visit.
It is. Maybe we should add that to our straight and level destinations.
That would be cool. I'd love to do I'd love to do a whole series on this aircraft. I'd like to see the craftsmanship and the time and energy that goes into building one of these.
Is that sheet metal, David, that I saw, or is that fabric? I couldn't tell.
I'm pretty sure the wings are fabric. I unfortunately I don't know much about these airplanes, and I didn't get a chance to look at it real close, but I think it's all dope and fabric.
I think it is. It looks like there may be sheet metal around the engine, Danny. Is that right? I think.
Yeah, it looks like you got a sheet metal cowl, dope and fabric on the rest. I don't know if this is going to be a metal wing or a wood wing. If you've never flown a wood wing, I encourage you to try one out. It gives you that just extra little bit of cush when you're rolling around the skies, doing your wing overs, loops, whatever. It's just really a neat experience.
I never thought about that. The whole thing flexes when wood, where metal is more rigid, and that's probably something that most aviators never really experience. I know I haven't. Jeff, have you ever flown a wooden wing?
I have not.
Yeah, I've never flown a wood wing.
If you get a chance to fly an open cockpit biplane, you need to jump because it's just so much fun. Of course, the advantage on this aircraft is it's a newer engine, so like the older Stearmans and whatnot, one of the charms is you put your head outside and get little grease oil spots on your glasses. But you don't get that experience, but the wind's going past your head, and it's just beautiful way to see the countryside in the air.
We're about halfway through. What's the action over there at the sales desk, Jack?
Yep, we're still at 20,000. looks like 2 active bidders battling it out. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to look up to see if it's a fabric wing or not.
Actually, I was just looking through as the pictures were flipping through. Yeah. I'm not sure what the wing structure is, but it's definitely fabric covering, and the fuselage is fabric covering, and it still has wooden stringers in there. So, these guys are doing it super old school. It's going to be probably chrome moly steel frame with the wooden stringers, and then the fabric covering over the top. I'd be willing to guess that the wings are probably similar construction.
I think you're actually right.
Hand
from what I'm
stitched and
reading.
taped.
Yeah, hand
A
stitched.
lot of love and care. This one was done really well. A lot of love and care with the construction of this aircraft.
This one has 25 hours on it since major overhaul on the engine. It's got 108 hours total time on the airframe, so basically like brand new. Wow. And it's got ADS-B out, which is definitely an interesting modification for this type of an aircraft. You just don't see that every day, where you see ADS-B in a biplane, especially not this construction, Jeff.
Yeah, well, it's compliant now with that part, but you're right. I mean, this isn't a cross-country airplane. It's a biplane, and as most of the early generation airplanes were, or even triplanes, you got a lot of lift out of having 2 wings. Of course, that means drag. So this plane will climb. I just looked up the performance specs. It'll climb better than a Bonanza, which has got a 300 horsepower engine up front, so twice what this has. But it's going to cruise something like a heavy 172. So again, probably not going to take this one up to Canada for cross country from deep in the heart of Texas. But what a neat plane to fly around in.
Yeah, it's got a great power to weight ratio. Obviously, it wouldn't climb like that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but gosh, plane. I mean, you probably couldn't hardly overhaul this engine for $20,000, and it's really low time engine. So I mean, just the engine itself is worth quite a bit of money.
Yeah. It's interesting. We see a tightening in the market right now with really in all aircraft, but these are some very unique aircraft that I think really need a special home.
Yeah.
I don't think this is, not every aviator. This is not a family machine, right? This one's not going to take you and your kids on a trip someplace. This is a true, like you say, dawn patrol, sunset. Yeah. This is something that's really, this is a toy, a weekend flyer that you really have to enjoy.
Definitely a man cave airplane.
Yeah,
it's enough to make you smile and watch the cows go by.
That's exactly right. Well, I think that's the end of this auction. We're going to send it to the Vectors to final process, I believe, Jake.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with one of our buyers. I think we're going to set up a showing actually in Punta Gorda, Florida. I've always wanted to go to Punta Gorda. I hear it's real nice. So I said, sure. He wants to come see it in person. He wasn't able to do so before the auction. Wants to see it in person, and I think he'll have more of a comfort. Factor going in. Let's go ahead and send this to Vectors to Final.
Well, Jake, speaking of Vectors to Final, give us a little bit of color on that.
Yeah, sure. Vectors to Final, we sell aircraft before, during, and after the auction. The Vectors to Final program is the window 30 days after the auction where there's been a lot of interest. People see, okay, what will this bird sell for competitively on the block on an as-is, where-is platform? And if it doesn't come to the number that the owner wants, the reserve doesn't get pulled, whatever it is, then you go to that you make a formal offer. We go through the traditional way of buying and selling. It's that magic window right after the auction where deals come together.
Yeah, a lot of aircraft close the Vectors to Final process. Yeah. I'd say, what do you think? 65 to 75% of the aircraft that go Vectors to Final end up closing inside the 30 to 45 day window.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. 10% close before, about a quarter close on the block, if not less. And then we get tons of activity after the auction. So it's a great transparent way to see bidding competitively on the open market. We set the market, and then people get comfortable with the standard process afterwards. And it's a great system for buyers and sellers alike.
That's exactly right. Well, as we look on to our next aircraft, I think we have a Piper coming up. Jeff, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, is this a Piper Cherokee? Do you have the details on this one, Jeff?
Yeah, this is a terrific airplane. I mean, it's right there with the Cessna 172. That's the competitor that Piper has. It's got the venerable Hershey bar wing. This is a great trainer, great aircraft. I mean, you're not going to be going Mach 1 in this thing, but it's a solid cross-country aircraft, and it's an A+ trainer.
Well, without delay, Mr. Brewer, will you kick this one off for us?
That's right. Lot number 5 is a very exciting aircraft, 1966 Piper Cherokee, serial number 2821-742, tail number November 7045 Romeo. The auction is underway, and we have a $5,000 opening bid.
$5,000 opening bid. I think the avionics of this thing are worth $5,000.
I think they are. And the fact that this thing has been flying for 55 years now, and really that's not unusual for Cherokees. They're put together really well. They're robust. They can take a student pilot. and some pretty bad landings. And here we are over 5 decades later. It's still flying, and
we got 10.
And it still looks good. And
Awesome.
from the sales desk, we just hear that we've got a bid up on this thing, and that makes sense because you can get a lot of value and a lot of good use out of this plane.
You really can. This aircraft is based at a grass strip, I believe in South Texas. I could be wrong. We have to check in with the sales desk on that. And this aircraft is the Cherokee 140 variant. Very popular, Hershey bar wings, as you mentioned. They really are indestructible. I have seen them do amazing things, and I've seen some people have hard landings, and some people do a lot of things to these aircraft, and the aircraft simply needs an inspection, maybe a part or two, which are still highly available, and these aircraft are back in the air very quickly. Danny, how do you feel about the old Piper Cherokee?
I got a little bit of time in Cherokees. I like the airplane. It seems like you're either a high wing guy or low wing guy. It just depends on what you start out with. But overall, it's a great aircraft. It's a great entry-level aircraft. And one of the things that we're seeing here as of late is the guys and girls that want to get their ratings, instead of paying exorbitant amounts to rent, they're buying aircraft like this at a lower price, maybe doing a little work, get their ratings, then to sell it later, virtually putting what they put into it back in their pocket for future ratings. So it's,
No, I think it's a great opportunity. Definitely, buy, learn, and fly.
Sure.
Build time in these aircraft. And I think they're fairly easy to maintain. I've never really maintained a Cherokee before, but I kick it over to David on that. I mean, this is something that's not just going to break the bank at an annual inspection, right?
No, that is one of the nice things about these. I mean, not only do they have a great useful load, but the maintenance is really minimal on these for an airplane. It really is nice. It's a simple engine. I think it's an IO360. Pretty sure is what they have in those. Fuel efficient, and the maintenance or annual maintenance cost on it is really very minimal.
Yeah. No, this one's a 320, David, but it's got mid-time, 845 hours since the overhaul, from what I read here for its seller disclosure. And this one is in East Lake, Corpus Christi, Texas. I tell you what, that's a very interesting aircraft there. I think it's going to make somebody really a happy home. Certainly coming off a grass strip, I think this was somebody's weekend flyer baby, if that makes sense. And I think there's some real good opportunities here for someone to buy, fly, learn how to fly an airplane, get into aviation at a really relatively low price. Interior looks to be pretty nice, Jeff. I mean, for a trainer, I know I've flown in trainers that are a lot worse than that.
Same here. I think the interior does look great, and sure that the seller has taken really great care of this airplane. You look at some of the details on the inside, and I mean, for 50 years, this thing has served its purpose. As a trainer, as a cross-country plane, as a family plane. I mean, you're right, Halsey. That is a really good-looking interior for a 66 Cherokee.
The last trainer that I owned, actually, a Cessna 172, we had to put new seats in it because we plumb wore them out. I mean, you think about it, you fly in them, all day long every day or however much you're going to fly, and it's the first thing to go, right?
Yeah, it's not a throwaway. It's not like your car where you drive until the wheels fall off and you put it in the junkyard. As long as you maintain these, they go and they maintain their value. And another thing you brought up was cost. 800 hours on the engine. Time between overhauls on the 0320 is about 2,000 hours. So let's say you bought it to train with and you put 100 hours in it, or even 300 hours in it, got through your commercial license, you still got 700 hours to fly on the aircraft.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And those engines aren't going to break the bank. I mean, I know that you can buy an overhaul.
Simple, reliable.
Yeah. I think they're right about 20,000 out of overhaul. So, you get your money out of it even when you overhaul it. I think we have about 40 seconds left to go on the shot clock. I think Jay's working a deal. We're hopefully close to getting this thing sold on the auction block today. I don't know much detail, but I know there's a lot of interest in this aircraft coming up to today, especially in the location. It's the perfect South Texas $100 hamburger bird, 140, Cessna Piper, I'm sorry, a Piper Cherokee 140. My tongue's getting tied. We just saw a 140 up in Indianapolis. We just went on a trip up there with the Brighams, Jeff, and there was a Cessna 140 in the hangar next door that just blew my mind.
Yeah, that thing is beautiful.
And I haven't gotten it out of my head yet. It was completely restored, looked, incredible. Good thing that I didn't bring my checkbook that day because I'd have walked off with it. But it's it's a hangar find, right? So, but this aircraft is incredible opportunity for somebody to get into the industry, and a good entry level bird there. And I think the bird in my ear is telling me that we're almost out of time. Jake, where are we here?
We are very, very close to the reserve. I need to get the seller on the line.
You need to get the seller on the
We
line.
need
So
an
you want to have a
extension,
1 minute extension time?
1 minute extension, please.
Let's do a 1 minute extension here. So we'll add a 1 minute extension to the clock in the overtime segment, and we will see if we can't get a deal closed here today. I love this opportunity. When you get somebody who's close to a buy and sell opportunity like this, and you really, it's probably a first-time buyer, looking to buy through the Assent process because it's transparent. We want to make sure that we answer all the questions and go through the T's and C's. And we'll take a minute here and see if we can't get the deal done and give Jake a little bit of time to try to get somebody on the line and close the deal. So I think that'll work well. Also, when we have a moment here in the break of the action, I want to introduce Mr. Nick Key, one of our sales associates joining us here. He's hopefully going to be joining us full time. He's a fresh graduate out of Texas Christian University, proud frog. And the only downside of that is that Jake keeps recruiting all that purple in the office. And as a Mustang, that doesn't really go over that well. Yeah. So, but we're proud to have proud to have Nick here with us today. Thanks for joining us, Nick. We really do appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
The Beacon Bar. I think so. We've got a 60-second extension. Is that where we are, Jeff?
We do. And I was just trying to look up kind of a quick flight plan on this thing between Corpus Christi and say Brenham, outside of Houston, which has a terrific $100 hamburger that you can get. I bet that's a really quick trip, and that'd be a long, hot drive from Corpus Christi to Northwest Houston. But we talk about how great a trainer a Cherokee is, and it really is. But you can get some places in this plane. It's pretty sleek. It's got some power. They're operating it out of a grass strip. So this is the performance will sneak up on you on a Cherokee.
It's about a 120-knot airplane, and I've flown these around the Rocky Mountains where I learned to fly. I've flown over a 10,000-foot pass in the Cherokee 140.
Have you really?
Yeah. Go get yourself a mountain course. Anybody that flies in the Rocky Mountains, go get yourself a mountain flying course. You can fly down the mountains.
Really? Sure. I did not know that. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, I think we're.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jake, give us an update.
We're going vectors to final. I'm on the line with the seller right now. We need an actual showing of the aircraft.
Okay, so we're going to send this aircraft to vectors to final, but it sounds like we've agreed in principle on numbers. I think that JJ, would you say we've agreed on principle?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of buyers are real close, and just getting the ability to touch, see those logbooks with their own eyes, it can push them over, and so that's about where we're at.
Yep. We'll send this aircraft to vectors to final, and we'll see if we can get those buyers and sellers, or that buyer and that seller together to bring that aircraft on home. So I think the next aircraft we have going in the auction is a Aero Commander Darter 100. I don't know anything. I know a lot of aircraft, Jeff. This one is a new one for me. I don't know this aircraft. Never seen one, don't know of one. I don't even know how many they built. As the encyclopedia of aviation that you are, Jeff, I'm looking at you heavy on this one. But before we go there, let's kick it off with Mr. Brewer.
That's right. Number 6 is a rare aircraft for sure. A 1967 Aero Commander Darter 100. Tail number November 5563 Mike. The auction is underway with a $10,000 opening bid.
$10,000 opening bid. So it must be a rare aircraft if we're starting at $10,000 bid. Jeff, give us a little bit of background. What do you know about this aircraft?
Well, a lot of people know what an Aero Commander is, but I'll confess too, Halsey, I had to look this one up. When you look at a picture of the Darter, it looks a lot like a Cessna 172. And the performance numbers are really similar to a 172. We have a 172 later in the auction, and it's the 172 is the most commonly built airplane ever. It's the most venerable, the most ubiquitous, the most tried and true. Takes a licking, keeps on ticking. Very similar aircraft right here, and so I think this is kind of like a Cherokee. This is a superb trainer, and this plane will sneak up on you in its cross-country performance.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It looks like a Mooney tail and a Cessna body, and they all got together under the Aero Commander name.
I see it now. That's very much what it looks like. The swept forward tail of a Mooney, and otherwise it's a high wing plane like a Cessna, and it's a sharp looking little trainer.
Y'all mind if I jump in there?
No, jump in.
In fact, I was just on the phone with a consignor, and we were this close to selling that Cherokee right here in the block today. So we're gonna put the buyer and seller together, but he actually has a Mooney, and he was so delighted with our process and loves how it's going that that's going to be a part of our part of our July 22nd auction. So
cool.
we're thinking about
Yeah,
Mooney's.
that's awesome.
I mean,
Another great
I don't know.
airplane.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly
great.
right.
Sports car airplane.
That's exactly right. Sports car airplane. But I think this is what happened when you park a Cessna and a Mooney in the same hangar, right?
Yeah, that's
now I can't look at anything else when I see a picture of this airplane. That's a really cool, hybrid.
I think the Air Commanders have kind of a straight up and down vertical stab too.
They do.
If you look at it from the side, so
Yeah.
it's kind of it's almost a signature Air Commander. But yeah, it's a neat little aircraft. It's really low time, like 156 hours on a
We got
0320.
15 in.
You got 2,000 hour TBO. Geez, this thing probably costs next to nothing to fly around in.
Oh, no, it's got LED light kit on it, I see. It's got a huge,
That's right.
avionics.
It just wrapped up an annual too, literally this month.
Yeah,
Really?
fresh
Fresh
annual.
annual?
Maintenance is fresh.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's
So-
lots of room
lot of
for
interest on this
avionics
plane.
upgrades. That nice blink panel, good
Yeah.
blink canvas to start with.
Well, we know a place where you get some avionics done.
Maybe we can do that.
That'd be Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas. If you need a referral, you can call Assent Aeronautics, 817-888-8227. We're happy to put you in touch with these guys if you need the avionics upgrade. Some of the best work that you'll see ever come out of an MRO comes from Aero Brigham right
Thanks,
there in
Oldie.
Decatur, Texas. Tell you what, Jeff's actually sending his bird up to Decatur for a
We got
little
20 in.
little
We got
spruce
20.
up, right?
I am very, very impressed with the work that the Brigham brothers do, and I
Appreciate
know
that.
we'll be in good hands. We'll
try.
get to that later, but I'm excited for whoever can get this darter right here. It sounds like the sales desk has got a little bit of news to report.
25. We've got 25 going
Yeah.
up.
25.
This little dart, that's going to be an attention getter. You're going to puddle jumping around in the different small airports, and everywhere you go, somebody's going to walk up and say, "What is that?"
Well, yeah, every Cessna guy in the world is going to walk out to see where that tail came from, because that can't be a Cessna tail. You're like, no,
You'll be out there with the guys,
30,000,
the Fairchilds
in.
and the Stearmans, and they're the same question: "What is that?" So
Yeah.
it'd be a cool airplane to have.
$30,000 is the bid right now. I just heard from the sales desk.
Very
This
cool.
aircraft's probably going to sell today on the auction block. I tell you what, it's an exciting aircraft to look at. I don't know, Jeff, did you ever figure out how many that they made of these with your encyclopedic knowledge? I'm looking at your screen. I can see your notes you've made. How many? Do you know how many they've made of these things?
Not a whole lot. It looks like just over 100 of these.
Wow.
And you compare that with a 172, and we don't know what happened, but Cessna won this race. But the product we have here today is a couple special birds.
Did you say 100?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It's like, I knew it was in three figures. I didn't know it was 100. That they
We
made
got
about
35
100
in.
of these.
35.
You got to wonder what the stall speed in this bird. Look how thick that wing is. It's got to be a high lift wing.
Yeah, it's a
Super high lift.
Probably
camber.
docile as a kitten.
It's one of the advantages of the auction is we see so many different aircraft. One of the disadvantages of the auction is we don't always get to see them in person. This is one that I wish would have come to the show.
Yeah.
It would have been incredible to see this thing in the hangar and really get around it.
It would be.
And people are always, they look at paint on an airplane and they're like, I see so many buyers, they see a paint job and it looks pristine. And, in my opinion, the worse the paint, the better the aircraft, because that means somebody's probably spending money where it counts. Right? Because a paint job is super expensive. And, even on these small aircraft, the cost has just gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
And it's environmental related. we all know that it's you just can't paint planes anywhere anymore. The materials and the chemicals are all so regulated. And it's really made, some of this on these light airplanes, it's almost cost prohibitive to paint them, for the age that they are. And you see this one, it looks like it's in incredible shape. Where are we at right
Gentlemen, we just got a reserve lowered, so we need an extension.
All right, let's add another minute.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All too often we see in our business, we see an aircraft that's got this nice pretty paint job and it looks like it just rolled off the showroom floor, and then you look inside and the avionics package hasn't been updated since your grandpa was shooting ADF approaches on the ADM radio station downtown wherever.
What is ADF?
How did I question? Unfortunately,
That's like
I'm old enough to
sectionals,
tell you what
what's
ADF is and how to fly one. So
Is that like that girl, Loran C., that everybody tried to call back? She never called back.
Yeah.
We're getting close here to this deal. I think we're getting real close to an opportunity. Had a reserve lowered. I just can't get over the fact we got LED lights on this thing. It's less than 100 made. The panel is really interesting. It's ready for an upgrade. It looks like it has spider tracks, flight tracking on it. And with that, a decent little interior, needs a little spruce, but the glass looks pretty clean from all the pictures that we've seen. I think it's a nice little aircraft, and hopefully this aircraft will close on the block today. Jake, where are we?
What do we got, Jake?
We lowered the reserve to entice that buyer in the U.S., but it looks like we're going to move this thing vectors to final.
Vectors to final. Just close, just couldn't get a deal done there.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we could bring that buyer and seller together in the vectors to final process. We tend to have that happen, as we discussed earlier. And we'll be right back from the Beacon Bar after these messages. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, we have a 1968 Cessna 172K, a 1970 Cessna 182N, and a spectacular 1978 Cessna 310R. Please stay tuned here with Assent live private aircraft auctions coming from the Beacon Bar at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer. Actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Assent Aircraft Valuation Tool, calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. Amstat, information that moves you forward.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, AvBuyer, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Welcome back to the Beacon Bar here high above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field. I'm Halsey Smith. This is Jeff Gilmore, and we're joined by David and Danny Brigham from Aero Brigham here as we continue with the Assent Live private aircraft auction. The next aircraft coming on the auction block is
Cessna 172.
Cessna 172. Mr. Brewer, can we kick this sale off, sir?
That's right, Halsey. Number 7 is a 1969 Cessna 172K. Serial number 57861, tail number November 79072. The auction is underway, and we have a $30,000 opening bid.
$30,000 opening bid. Cessnas are picking up there, I'll tell you what, huh?
Yeah, and if you're a pilot, you've probably flown one of these. You'd be hard to find a pilot who has not flown a 172. It is the most commonly made airplane. People who don't fly know what a 172 is.
30 in?
And there's a reason for that. This is an airplane that has largely been unchanged in its design over the decades, and it's still great.
Mm-hmm. You know, the 172 is certainly where that's right. Got my first hours at 14 in a Cessna 172 at Weld County Regional Airport in Greeley, Colorado. Absolutely. And it was some of the most fun flying because it was wintertime and it was the only road in town that was plowed, was the runway. And we took off. And I remember it's the first time being at the controls when you look down and all you saw was the white, the snow on the ground. And that just, it changed my life when I was first behind the stick there. But there's great people up in Weld County Regional. But these aircraft are incredible aircraft at the 172. I know, Jeff, you've got time. Danny, David, you flown 172s?
I have more times in 172s than anything else in my logbook. I took my mountain flying course in 172. I flew 172 with 3 people into Leadville, Colorado.
Did you really?
9,700 plus feet, highest airport in North America on numerous occasions.
Wow.
It's a great aircraft. It's really,
You got 33,000
especially
in.
if you're learning, it's docile, it's forgiving. Sometimes you have to coax it into a stall. Just a great aircraft. Talk about abuse. Oh my goodness, the things I saw student pilots do to 172s.
The landing gear is just bulletproof.
Yeah, they are. They're wonderful.
Is it as bulletproof as an air tractor?
No, I don't think it's quite that bulletproof, but for a trainer, I mean, I've seen people bounce those things off the runway back in the air 30, 40 feet, and you're like, oh, the belly had to have hit the ground, and they come in and there's nothing wrong with them.
It's incredible. It's a solid landing gear, right? Just like the air tractor, it's a spring.
Spring gear, yeah.
Yep.
Spring gear, oleo strut in the front. Super simple. This one has an 0320. It's got 700 hours left before its next overhaul. Avionics package on it's real basic. If you're somebody that likes original equipment,
this is the one.
And you want to see what I learned to fly in, this is the airplane for you because it looks like I could just step into it and fly away right now.
That's incredible. The only thing I have to say is the dog does not come with the aircraft. The dog was filmed with the aircraft during our pre-production. The dog stays with the owner, doesn't go with the dog, so please bid accordingly. And it's a beautiful little aircraft. This one looks like it does have a good glass windshield. I know on the 172s we've owned over the years, that was the first thing we had to replace was the windshield because the wings and the fuselage wobble, right? And I didn't know that, but that's part of that flexes in that windshield, and so we always ended having to replace that up top there. Looks like nice glass, no smoke, or at least no clouds that I can see here in the glass from these photographs.
40,000
and $40,000 bid coming in from the sales desk. We've got a little under 2 minutes to go here. This aircraft needs to go to a new home today, but that dog stays with the owner. I'm sorry about that. But yes, absolutely. We've got some good action on this aircraft with the Skyhawk, the SP mod. There's so many upgrades you can do to these things as well, Jeff. I know they have wig-wag lights. They've got fat tire kits. They've got stall kits. They've got every kind of modification you can put on a 172. You can literally let your fingers do the walking on Google as far as how you want to get these things up.
Yeah, it's a great plane. It's going to be a great plane in another 30 years. It's been a great plane for 50 years already. There's over 44,000 of these things made. I don't care what you're making,
45,000.
aviation or otherwise. If you've made that many of this kind of product over decades, you've got it right. This is a plane it's such a great airplane, and guys who are flying for American, guys who fly for the Air Force. They've probably got time in a 172, and there's a reason for that. Cessna got this one right.
I know several guys that fly for private individuals. They jump in their Falcon 900. That's their day-to-day job, but they commute from like Vegas to LA in their 172 to get to work.
Yeah. Wow.
Geez, you got Hawk XPs, you got Hawks RGs, retractable gear, constant props. I mean, you name bigger engines, smaller engines, different propellers.
This one looks like the original radios in it, so it probably needs a little bit of a radio refresh. But man, look at that microphone in there. That's just stepped out of the original equipment, isn't it, from '68?
Yeah. We need an extension. I think of the consignor on. We got multiple bidders.
All right, we got some action on this one. We're going to go to overtime. We'll give Jake and his team another minute here, and no surprise because we've got a really good looking Skyhawk here. The paint looks great on this one. It's got the wheel pants. I'm sure it performs pretty well wherever it's based.
Well, I'm just hearing the dog might actually be for sale. So
I like it.
depends on what the number is. So it looks like we got some strong bidding action here. I've got the man in my ear telling me the dog might go with the plane. No, I'm kidding. I don't think that'll happen. But you can see a lot of the upgrades that you could do to this aircraft. I've always found them to be super fuel efficient, and that's one of the real things that makes this aircraft so attractive out there, is that it's not one that you're ever going to worry about flying, going down the road or taking out on a Sunday cruise, or even if you wanted to fly it like David and Danny had suggested as a commuter, because they are just so fuel efficient. And these aircraft have a history for that. They're known well for it. I think this has rosin sun visors in it. I can see it from a picture. Certainly, that's an incredibly useful modification with that big windshield. I don't know if anybody can remember the 172 flying. But somehow, it doesn't matter if you're flying east or west, the sun's always in your eyes in this aircraft. And those sun visors are beneficial as well. And looks like somebody's got a couple of RAM mounts in here that could be, pretty useful for some, we'll call it ancillary electronics as well. So now, Jeff, did you see anything on this aircraft as far as overhaul times? I haven't seen any of that. Have you had a chance to look at it?
I can't remember what the engine times are on this one, but I do know that the 320 and the 360, they're 2,000-hour overhaul intervals. So it's a robust, tried and true engine, and like you said, you just can't burn fuel in this thing, even if you're trying. I mean, at max power, you're probably not going to get above 10 gallons an hour in this thing as you motor along.
That's right.
This got 1,100 hours since major overhaul. 13 hours.
Yeah.
And I noticed you said something about the big windscreen. This aircraft's located in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado has a couple of big MOAs. And one of the big things you used to harp on in flying school is make sure your windshield was clean and clear, because you got those little fast movers the military likes to play with. So that brand new windshield, that could be a safety issue. You're flying to the sun or whatever, and you're flying close to one of those MOAs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can't be too safe with that, Danny. You're exactly right. Are we close, JJ? The clock is ticking over here. The man in my ear is telling me that we got to make a decision. Are we close to doing a deal?
That's right. We're on with the owner right now.
I'm on with the owner right now. A lot of the buyers are telling us they want to come out and see it. We're gonna roll this thing to vectors to final.
Okay.
But there was a lot of organic bids from people from all over the country on this one. So
that's great.
I mean, no wonder.
Yeah, it's worth having.
It's a good aircraft, absolutely. So we'll try to put that deal together in vectors to final. Hopefully, we can see a buyer and seller come together on that one as well. I was really expecting that one to sell today. I didn't see the price. JJ, what price did we end up with right now?
Ended at 45 on this one.
At 45,000. The last one I
amazing.
sold was 43.5, and mine was a 77 with 300 hours remaining. So I can tell you that this deal is probably a lot. It should bring a little bit more money than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think you probably need to open your wallet a little bit here, get a deal done, and if you want that aircraft to go home, Colorado aircraft too. So dry climate aircraft. You're, that's always the concern with the 172.
Right.
That corrosion. It's Colorado history aircraft. That dry climate. That's certainly something that's worth a couple bucks. In my opinion. Yep. So we'll move that to the next aircraft coming up. I think, Jeff, we have another Cessna coming on the block, don't we?
Yeah, whoever designed the order of this auction was thinking. I don't know if that was someone on the Assent team or the guys in production, but we've got a great progression here. We just did a Cessna 172. We're going to go to the big brother of the 172, the Skylane, the Cessna 182.
Well, without further ado, Mr. Brewer, will you kick this one off for us?
Oh, yeah. After the huge interest in the 172, number 8 is a 1970 Cessna 182N, serial number 182-60302, tail number 92665. The auction is underway with a $50,000 opening bid.
$50,000 opening bid. This is an Ohio-based aircraft. I don't know a whole lot about this. All I do know is a relatively low-time aircraft with 67.54 advertised as a total time. For that age, 1970, that's just a baby. She's an infant.
Yeah, she's just still got her training wheels on. I mean, she's 50 years old, but this thing will probably fly another 50 years. And just like the 172, this is a plane that can do everything pretty well. It's a 172 with more power and a bigger useful load. So it's a very common plane to step up from a 172. If you train in a 172 and you want your own family airplane, very common. This plane it's the jack of all trades. It's relatively fast. It carries a relatively high useful load. It's relatively easy to maintain. It's relatively cheap to maintain. I mean, you get a whole lot with a 182, and that's why they've sold so many and why it's such a good airplane today.
You know, how many aircraft of these did they build, Jeff? I probably missed it.
Man, I got to look this one up. It's not as much as
it's not 40,000.
It's not, but I mean, this has got to be a top 5 seller of all time.
It just looks like a little, you know, the 172 just, you know, came out just a little bit bigger. It's you know, it doesn't look like it's massively modified. You know, the cowling is always bigger. In a 182, I always feel like I have to lean up a little bit to look out over the panel. In a 172, I always felt like I could just kind of see. It didn't have to really do that much.
Mm-hmm.
182, I felt like I always had to rock forward, you know, to really see out, you know, over the top. And really a fun aircraft to fly. I have a few hours in these as well. This one looks like it can do the avionics upgrade. 60, I just heard 60 from the sales desk. That's a great number. Hopefully this one will go on the auction block today. This is a good opportunity for somebody as well. I see Bose headsets in there.
Say noise canceling out.
Yeah, and then that blue interior, baby blue interior. You got to love that. You know, I'm a sucker. I've got baby blue interior, original interior in that twin Bonanza. And I love that color in airplanes. I know it's probably outdated and everybody will laugh at me, but there's just something nice about that. And then the velvet, you know, I know that that's outdated too, but I just love that feel in an airplane. It just reminds me of when I was a kid, you know, and it's just kind of nostalgic for me. But I think this is a good aircraft to go. Looks like we've got a King avionics system in this thing. It's in Valley City, Ohio, is what I'm being told. And this aircraft had a 2020 paint job. That's so a fresh paint job and a partial interior to refresh some of the carpets as well. So I think this is interesting. A 2020 paint job. That paint does look brand new. And that's the new style lettering, isn't it, for the FAA compliance? That's the new large letters. Is that right?
Yeah, the 12-inch end numbers.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aircraft.
Got the classic swept-back tail as opposed to Skylane versus Skyhawk. Skylane's got a little swept-back tail. You're going from a 120-knot airplane up to about a 140-knot airplane. Of course, I have a friend with LMO Aerospace. Jack has an STC. It'll make it an almost 160-knot airplane.
Really?
Different propeller engine combination. And he's got a 182, 155 knots all day long.
What does he do? Put a 3-beta prop on him? Or?
Yeah.
Well, that and he upgrades the power plant to 200 horsepower.
200 horsepower. Where's that guy? Where's the mod? Are they down in Colorado?
No,
he's in Austin now. I think.
Yeah, he's in Austin. He used to be at our airport. We used to help him do STC projects all the time, engine and prop upgrades on all sorts of different models of fixed-wing airplanes, including Cessna Caravans and Ariats, the Huskies, and the Cessnas. Like we helped him with that upgrade, that STC, putting the bigger engines on the 182s.
Wow.
And yeah, it's all he does. He's just a power plant DER. And,
wow.
And he hires himself out to do a lot of the STC work for Blackhawk, for example, and Macaulay and things like that. But then he owns some of his own STCs, and that big engine upgrade for the 182 is one of his STCs. It's really an easy mod. And,
the 182 is
killer performer.
The 182 is really your cross-country airplane. Someone's went out there, they're training a 172, they're a student pilot, now they're graduated, they got a pilot's license, maybe they were smart and got their IFR rating, which I strongly suggest, and now they want to go some places, but they want to get there a little quicker. So 182 is your answer. It's got the same characteristics, flies a little bit faster, approach speeds are almost identical, handling is almost identical, it's not as heavy as a 210. Yeah, it's a great airplane.
They're incredible. This one has about 200 hours since major overhaul on the prop.
Got 70,000
70,000 I just heard from the sales desk. JJ, is that right? 70,000?
70,000, yes,
70,000 on the sales desk. So this aircraft is certainly moving right along.
Got an 0470 engine, about 275 horsepower, 1,600 between overhauls. But the nice thing is, it's normally aspirated. But on those hot days, you don't have to worry about that fuel injection trying to vapor lock on you and going, I got to have another soda because I got to wait for it to cool down.
That's exactly right.
That's one advantage too.
Yep, you don't have to sit there on the ramp and let her cool down. They are fun. I mean, Jeff, how many hours do you have on a 182?
A 182, it's several dozen. It's and it's all cross country. It's just a terrific. If you can shut the door, she's going to take off and she'll get you there type airplane.
Well, I'm just being told that the auction clock is wound down. Where do we stand, JJ? Can you give me an update?
We still have kind of stuck right at 70,000. We'll be moving this one to Vectors to final.
Vectors to final. I'm surprised that didn't sell on the block. Wow. That is that's a pretty commanding number. Is it close to a deal, JJ? How close to a deal are we?
Well, we're getting there. We're on the phone with the owner right now. We've got some bidders that are going back and forth, and we're trying to find that middle ground, that sweet spot where both can be satisfied.
That sounds great. Well, hopefully they can get it done pretty quick here. If I am the owner, I'm sitting here looking at that number thinking this might be the day to let that go. I think that's probably a reserve number to pull it off, or maybe they could meet in the middle and close that deal at 75 or so. I think that'd be a good purchase price for that aircraft based on what I know on the market. So hopefully that deal will happen. And in the meantime, we'll move it to Vectors to Final. I think we have one more aircraft coming up here before our next commercial break, and that is a Cessna 310R. Mr. Brewer, can you kick us off on this Cessna?
Oh, you bet. Number 9, we're going to stick with the Cessna, 1978 Cessna 310R, serial number 1325, tail number November 6186 X-ray. The auction is underway, and we have a $50,000 opening bid on this Cessna.
$50,000 opening bid on the Cessna 310R. You know, these are probably one of my favorite Cessnas to see in the market space. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the 310R.
310 is a great plane. You know, like we said, we're moving right up the chain of command here in the Cessna line. This is Cessna's trainer twin, and don't let the term trainer fool you. This is a airplane that can do a lot. This is an airplane that's fast. It can fly far. It can hold a lot of people. It can hold a lot of luggage, and it's been around for 70 years now, and it's still a great plane today.
You know, they're a great aircraft. The 310R is one of the newer variants of the 310, and they have incredible baggage compartments there, as you see on the overwing lockers. There was a guy that I know here from North Texas who won the Golden Lindbergh Award with a 310 at Oshkosh a few years back, and I really had a new appreciation for him after seeing the way that he maintained his, and interesting landing gear system. You know, what do you guys think about it, David and Danny? What do you think, Danny?
We had one at our flight school back when I was years old, and they flew the heck out of it. More guys, more friends of mine that are pilots probably flew 310s for getting multi-engine than anything else.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll move up to a little Baron when they want to get serious. But I mean, for the money, for training in a twin, it's hard to beat.
It really is hard to beat. They're an incredible aircraft. You got the little tricky landing gear to rig. You know, you got to be pretty on your game as a maintenance technician to rig that landing gear. And I don't know if they're all the landing gears the same, but I do know that there's manuals, and then there's refresher courses that are third party that help you learn the manual on how to rig these 310 landing gear. I mean, it's a little bit of an art, isn't it?
It is. The 310 land, it's finicky. If you don't get everything just right, you're going to have an issue. You'll be the next one that they're calling the fire department out while you're trying to burn fuel. You know.
That's exactly right. Our partners at Amstat are incredible. They send us over some numbers on these aircraft. Over the life of these, the 310Rs, there were 136 of them produced. We have a 65 active in the fleet, and over that we have there's an 11-year run for these. I think this is the last variant of the 310 that they produced. I could be wrong with that. Market numbers here: average asking price $265. Days on market is quite a significant days on market there, with over a year on the average days on market, and then average year asking price, or average year, is 1981. So interesting bird here. Total on the market for sale: 8 of these aircraft today. And here's some numbers. That passenger count is wrong. Sorry about the mistake there. It's not 12. I wish it was 12.
Yeah.
And those variable costs are wrong as well. I think we had a little bit of a technical glitch there with that. So, but if that thing will carry 12 passengers, that thing's worth a couple $1 million, you know.
And it's going to be burning different fuel.
Yep. So
that's about 180 knot airplane, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's about right. Yes.
Yeah, 180 knot airplane.
180 knots. You got 2 engines turning and burning, but they're burning less fuel than other comparable twins. So, you know, if you got a little extra cash and you want a little extra engine to help you cruise along.
Absolutely. These aircraft, you can get 6 people in them pretty comfortably. I mean, I'm a big guy, and I've sat in the back of these aircraft, and it's not terrible. It seats pretty well. The best seat in the house is front left, though.
It is
always.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nicest seat in the house. But those big, swinging those big Macaulay 3 blades there, I'm fascinated. And Jeff, you and I have talked about this before. the tip tanks were kind of a happy
Good
accident
60,000.
for winglets and vortex generators, aren't they?
That's a really good point. As we hear a bid for 60,000 just came in. That's a great shot overhead to see those tip tanks and how they form part of the wing. There's another great shot right there. In the 50s, when they designed these tip tanks, we really didn't understand winglets and how they improve the efficiency and reduce the drag that comes off of wingtips and creates wingtip vortices. And so while these tanks out on the end of the wings really help the range of this plane, what we didn't know then, but we know now, is it makes the wing behave better. It makes the wing more efficient, less drag comes off the wingtips, and so happy accident. We've got a better wing, and we didn't even know it in the 50s when we started it.
That's exactly right. They're a pretty incredible aircraft. We got 22 seconds left. Jake, where are we at in this aircraft?
Halsey, a couple of things. One, we need an extension. We got 2 active bidders on this aircraft. We're trying to bridge the gap. Also, we just got the consignment agreement in, speaking about twins, this one's a turboprop, on a C90, a 1982 C90. We just listed for the July 22nd auction.
Congratulations.
And this thing looks amazing. They just spent, wow, look at that, this invoice. They just spent $70,000 in the maintenance shop. Phase inspections are fresh.
Wow.
530, 430 stack. Hey, do you want a King Air, Jeff?
It's a nice progression for a 421.
Not in the market at the moment, but a King Air is one of the best airplanes ever made.
Yeah, belted lav.
Beach makes a great aircraft.
Wow, this thing is fantastic. ADS-B, wow. All right, anyway, not to distract from the...
How close are we in the 310?
310. We are pretty close. I can't give numbers out, but
of course,
we're pretty close.
Pretty close on getting a deal done. We can give an extension here, see if we can get it done. We'll kick off an extension now for 60 seconds. If we can get a 60-second clock going in the control room, that'd be great. And we'll see if we can't get this deal closed here on the auction block. If not, I'm going to have to give Jake a hard time. That's 3 extensions in a row.
Oh, yeah.
3 strikes, right, on the extensions.
Yep.
3 and might be out there.
No, we got to bid in it. We got to bid in at 80.
Hey, there you go. So is the reserve off yet? Is the reserve off?
Hey, we're trying. Hold on.
Yeah, Halsey, you were talking about comfort in the cabin. There's a guy in our airport that we've done some avionics work on his 310. It's a gorgeous 310. I believe it's an R. He's probably, I'm guessing Mark's about 2 inches taller than you are, and his 2 boys are taller than him, and his wife is probably about 4 inches shorter than him, and they all fit in that airplane very comfortably. Throw the baggage in, stuff in the wing, in the nacelle baggage compartments, and they go blowing off all the time cross country.
Wow,
it's a great airplane.
Yeah,
very incredible.
I mean, the Baron is the obvious competitor to the 310, and the Baron is a phenomenal airplane. We've got a P Baron on the block coming later this afternoon, but I think that the 310 has the Baron beat in exactly what you're talking about, David. It's a great cabin. Passengers love it. It can fit some big people. It can fit a lot of bags. It's a great cross-country hauler.
Yeah, it really is.
They are. We've got about 15 seconds left here for Jake and the sales team to kind of bridge a deal. I think Jake's fingers are on fire over there from texting. And hopefully we can figure out if we can get a deal done here on the auction block. We'll take a slow 15 seconds, right? We'll one of those bull riding 15 seconds to see if we can.
Slow motion.
Well, no matter what happens here, it does seem like we're giving Jake a hard time on the overtimes, but we've got 3 or 4 that are really close here, and those are safe bets for Vectors to Final.
They are. And you got 3 or 4 bidders here playing this aircraft, and they all need a fair shot. And if one guy's going up, we want to make sure we give them at least 60 seconds to respond back before we cut them loose. Looks like we just had another bid in, didn't we?
Roll it.
Nope, we're going to send it to Vectors to Final. All right, well, this aircraft's going to go to Vectors to Final. If you have an interest in this 310R, please give us a call at 817-888-8227. Hit that extension 711 or 710 for JJ and Jake, and we'll see if we can't get this aircraft sold in the Vectors to Final process. If you'll stay with us, we'll be right back after these breaks.
Keep it right here after these messages as we preview a 1976 Cessna 421C, an exceptionally equipped 1977 Baron P-58, and a beautiful 1984 421C that is ready to go through the Assent Live private aircraft auctions. See what's coming up next on the block. Stay tuned after these messages.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer. Actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Assent Aircraft Valuation Tool, calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. Amstat, information that moves you forward.
Woke up this morning with the sunrise in my eyes. Just like a new day, a breath of fresh air in my life. I don't know how, don't know why, but I'll be toasting all my life.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, AvBuyer, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Oh yeah. With my boot money.
Welcome back to the Beacon Bar here above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field. I'm Halsey Smith. This is Jeff Gilmore. And this is Danny and David Brigham. We're here at the Assent Live private aircraft auction. We have a few more aircraft we're getting ready to go across the auction block today. The next aircraft we have crossing the auction block, Jeff, is one of your favorites, the 421C.
The Golden Eagle. We got two of them coming up here. Wonderful airplane, probably the very best of the piston fleet. Why don't we get this one introduced?
That's right. Number 10 is a 1976 Cessna 421C, serial number 71, tail number November 369er Romeo Mike. The auction is underway on this great Cessna at an opening bid of $100,000.
You know, we really put our auctioneers in a terrible position. We always ask them to use the tail number, and they don't use phonetic alphabets when they're normally selling things. So, you know.
Learning curve.
Yeah, Morgan has had to learn that. Now Mr. Brewer's having to learn. We only use champion auctioneers here. You know, I don't know if anybody knew that, but every one of our auctioneers that are champions, either Texas, World, whatever, they have to have champion on their card, their business card. And Mr. Brewer standing in for Miss Morgan Hobson today, champion auctioneer from Amarillo, Texas. We are so glad to have him. But we really put them in a bad spot because they have to know the phonetic alphabet to introduce these birds with Romeo Mike. And, you know, they don't talk in phonetics every day, Jeff. I mean,
we ask a lot here, and there's obviously an aviation language, just like most industries and professions. And everyone who walks into this hangar has got to learn it on this team. But Ryan Brewer's doing a fabulous job today. So thanks for learning our language, Ryan. And
thanks for having me.
And we got 4 minutes left on this 421C. This is a terrific C model. It's before 1980, which means that it has the straight leg landing gear as opposed to the trailing link that they went with after 1980. It also means you can put winglets on this Golden Eagle, and this one hasn't. So what a beautiful airplane. An already great airplane that Ram down in Waco, Texas, put the winglets on. So you've got a really fabulous performer here in this Golden Eagle.
It's incredible. This aircraft is a You know, what I love about them is that you can get a lot of people in them. Plus, they have a little bar, right, which is nice. They typically have a potty, which always helps. And they're swinging those big, I think they're Macaulays. No, are they Hartzels?
They are 90-inch props, either Macaulay or Hartzell.
But those are Hartzels there. And they were always swinging those big props outside the window. And I just love the sound. You know, that's what always just gets me on the 421. When those engines fire up and you hear the blades spinning through that gearbox, that just makes you feel powerful.
Yeah, it's those geared engines and it's those huge props. And most people will tell you when you're inside a 421 and it gets to takeoff power, it sounds like a growl. It sounds powerful. It doesn't even really sound like a piston. It's almost like you're bridging that gap between the piston and the turboprop world. And the performance that you get from a 421, you really are at that hybrid territory. You're performing very close to a straight King Air 90 model for a lot less money. And that's why these planes are so attractive and why they were so iconic that our government gifted our NASA Apollo astronauts these planes once they came back from their Apollo missions.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I know there's something on this one that's near and dear to your heart, Jeff, with those winglets. You know, tell me a little bit about the perforence modifications that you get from those winglets.
Well, those winglets, just like we talked about with the 310, the accidental winglets in those tip tanks, it reduces the drag that comes off, and it mitigates those wingtip vortices that come off the wingtips of any airplane. What that does is it allows the plane to fly faster because there's less drag and it gives it a little more stability.
How many more knots do you get on the winglets?
RAM says that you get about 7. So that's something like about a 3% increase in cruise speed.
That's pretty respectable.
Yeah, 7%.
Gives a little bit of fuel endurance to it too, doesn't it?
But yeah, whenever you're reducing drag, you're reducing fuel consumption and you're increasing range of the plane. And the airlines are most motivated to reduce drag because they're trying to run a business. And so for about 20 years, you can't look out the edge of a wing on any commercial flight. I don't care what kind of plane it is. You're going to see a winglet there because they're trying to reduce drag. Right. They're trying to increase range.
Yep.
Right. When I worked for American, we were putting winglets on everything.
You in MD-80s?
I was in 80s, 777, 75, 76.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, any savings you can get when you're pushing these big engines, these are going to use a little fuel. GTSO
520.
520, oodles of horsepower, turbocharged, so great for high altitude, pressurized cockpit, fast, comfortable. You can almost stand up in it. Mm-hmm. I could probably stand up in it. You wouldn't be able to. But yeah, when I was a kid, I always looked at one of these like, man, that's the twin right there. It's a beautiful aircraft.
They're a lot of fun to fly. I mean,
and this one has a great avionics package.
It does.
GTN 750, G600 Garmin displays. And I noticed the engines are also staggered on their overhaul times.
Yep.
And they also have an additional engine available for a separate price. But the beauty of that is, if you're only overhauling one of those big expensive engines at a time, you're only paying for one of those big expensive engines at a time. And they're $55,000-$56,000 or so.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've got about 10 seconds left here on the clock. JJ, where are we at with this aircraft?
So we're sitting at 175 here right now. Jake's on the phone with another bidder. We're trying to get him up and help this seller keep the integrity of his aircraft, the value of the aircraft.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to buy this aircraft.
No, I mean, I always defer to you, Halsey, when it comes to the marketplace. But I know this model pretty well, and this plane is worth more than that.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Somebody's got to open their checkbook up a little bit further. So we're going to send this one on to the Vectors to final process today. Hopefully we can bridge a gap between a buyer and a seller, but that price with winglets and that avionics package, that's just not going to get it done, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll move on to the next aircraft we have coming across the auction block, which is, I believe, another 421.
Another Golden Eagle. Why don't you tell us about that, Mr. Brewer?
Yeah, this is going to be your last chance to buy the Cessna on the block today. Number 11, a 1984 Cessna 421C, serial number 1408, tail number November 659, Romeo Juliet. The auction is underway on this great Cessna, and the opening bid is $100,000.
$100,000, 7,000 hour airframe time, serial number 1408.
We're at 100.
659 Romeo Juliet. I think this aircraft is a repeat. I think it's been bought by one of our customers and has come back to the auction to be sold. I think the customer's upgrading, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think this is an Assent auction purchase that, and the aircraft has been improved, and now it's up for resale. I remember this one. This is a great 421. If you look closely at the main landing gear, you can see the trailing link system, and that really makes the pilot look good up front. It's kind of the system that you see on a lot of citations. So a lot of forgiveness, a lot of robust qualities, that main gear system, and again, everything we said about the prior Golden Eagle applies here. Just a terrific piston twin, arguably the best piston twin ever made.
Oh, I totally agree with that. This aircraft is pretty spiffy here. As far as the overall details of it and what it's offered to. I know it's had some TLC paid to it as well.
That panel.
Yeah,
it's got a terrific avionics package.
Yeah, and side facing their seat, the door coming up, and then the big back baggage area. I like the overstuffed seats. I know that's a 1980s feel.
Comfy,
man, they are so comfortable, And that one's got the big, looks like the big alternators as well, which you don't see every day. 100 amps on those aircraft. So this airplane's really got some special TLC been paid attention to her by the seller. I think we got 3 minutes, 14 seconds left on the clock with this aircraft. Super nice. I mean, this 421C is just very nice.
Yeah, and passengers love the Golden Eagle so much for two reasons. Number one, like we said, those big geared engines spinning those big 90-inch props, they're spinning at about 800 RPM less than you'll see in a competitor. And number two, the fuselage of this plane, it's like a squashed oval. Mm-hmm. And so you get more room side to side in the cabin of a Golden Eagle compared to, say, a Duke or another competitor in the piston twin. Exactly, like a King Air. This is a really big cabin for a piston-powered plane.
That GTN 750 with the G600, that to me is really the Gucci. That changed the world flying. For so many pilots in these big heavy twins, is that G600.
Yeah,
really increased situational awareness. I love most things Garmin does. There's a few things that frustrate me, but most of the things that Garmin do is very interesting and compelling to the industry. And the G600 to me was a game changer on these large twins.
We're at 200
because it gave the pilot situational awareness that they didn't have before. And now with the upgrades you can do to even bring in engine information and some other things that are not on the G600, but lighten the load and then make it really new avionics up front is really compelling. Jeff, you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? With your 421 aficionado, and you got a little bit of a background in the avionics area.
Well, I've been practicing on using the G600 coupled up with the GTN 750, and I got to say, when I learned how to fly as a teenager, we had none of this stuff, and it almost feels like it's cheating. I mean, whatever nightmare scenario you can think of under hard IFR conditions, an unpublished hold out of nowhere, Golden Eagle 123 Alpha Charlie, get ready to copy. I've got a hold for you. And it'd be like, oh my God, when's the last time I did a hold? It was probably my check ride. The GTN 750, it's like cheating. You put it in right there. You've got that thing coupled up to an S-Tech autopilot. Yep. And like you said, situational awareness, it's through the roof. I mean, when they designed these planes in the 70s and 80s, I wish you could have pulled that engineer off the factory in Wichita and said, you just wait. These things are still going to be flying in 50 years, and just wait till you see the technology we're going to put up in the office up front.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then you look at the situational awareness for me is where it's at, because in a twin you have more complexity introduced into the systems, and getting some of that workload off the pilots really makes a big difference. Sure. It's a Cherokee 140, that bird is not, and that G600 makes it almost fly like one. It's incredible.
Gents, we have 30 seconds left. We just got an offer in on the 182, and the owner just countered. So we are getting closer.
Oh, awesome.
Very, very, very close.
You yourself.
I kind of missed out on the 182, and he said, hey, where'd it go? And I said, well, make us an offer. Come on.
Yeah, this 421, you talk about S-Tech. We install S-Techs at Aero Brigham as well as Garmin, and S-Tech's really good system.
We're in a 250.
This is a great airplane because it's got all the elbow room. But you're in the realm where now time is money, so maybe you're willing to spend a little bit more to get there a little faster, but you're not quite ready to trip into the turboprop genre. So it's a perfect, right there in the sweet spot, hanging around 20,000 feet or so, and getting there quick, getting the job done.
We're at 300.
Yeah. Well, we're having a little bit of an overtime here. We've got 250 to 300. 300 on this airplane is a pretty good number. That's pretty compelling. Where are we getting pretty close on that, Jake?
We're not terribly close. There is activity, but we're too far away from the reserve. I mean, with this caliber aircraft, the G600, 750, 12th to the last ever made, it's just going to demand more, I believe. So
that's good.
I feel comfortable moving this vectors to final, getting those guys personally in front of the aircraft and see what we can do.
Absolutely. We'll send this aircraft vectors to final. If you have an interest in it, please give us a call at 817-888-8227 or join our website. Check out our website at www.assentaero.com. In the meantime, we have another aircraft coming to you today. This one is actually one of my all-time favorites. This is the Beechcraft B-58 P Baron. Mr. Brewer, will you kick off this sale for us?
Oh, this is one of my favorites as well. Number 12, a 1977 Baron 58P, serial number TJ112, tail number November 18280. The auction is on this aircraft, and the starting bid is $100,000.
The auction is on. So these P Barons are one of my favorite aircraft that Beech made. They have some maintenance restrictions. The fuselage has some restrictions on how many hours they can operate. They've got a few other things that are little, I'll say, quirks, but they are incredibly fun aircraft. And stepping up into a pressurized aircraft, there's really no better way in the piston market, unless you're going to go, spend millions of dollars, to get into a pressurized twin like this at the Beechcraft nameplate. And I am a huge believer. I think they're incredible aircraft. This one's got an interesting avionics panel. It has, we've been bragging about having, even have everything with the kitchen sink, including Wi-Fi. It doesn't have Wi-Fi, by the way. But it's got everything that you can imagine on this aircraft. And houndstooth interior look to it. Nice paint there. It looks like it's 7, 8 out of 10 from the pictures that we can see. And the only thing about this one is you do have to be on your game. You can't just go fly. I think you're going to fly. It's not a toy per se. This one actually you have to be an aviator to operate. And but when you take it seriously and you operate it well, it'll be a good aircraft for you for a long period of time. And one of my favorites, Jeff. What do you think?
We talked about the Cessna 182 kind of being the jack of all trades for the piston single.
Now at 175.
I think that for pressurized pistons, this is kind of the 182. And guys who love Beechcraft and love their P Barons, they might be thinking like, oh, come on, this is a Beechcraft, this isn't a Cessna. I mean it as a compliment. This is a really great pressurized entry model, like you said. It still performs fabulously. It looks fabulous. It's a high-performing airplane. I've had a chance to fly one of these. A TCU graduate, Jake's going to love this. Dr. Scheidemann in Fort Worth, Texas, had one of the nicest P Barons that's ever been flying on the planet. He's since moved on to a King Air, but man, that was years ago. I flew in Dr. Scheidemann's P Baron, and I've always thought, man, what a really cool airplane compared to its competitors. It's very competitively priced, and it's very competitive in its performance compared to the other planes in its class.
I actually know Scheidemann's P Baron. We did a little bit of work on it with Assent Aeronautics back in the day, and that's a heck of an aircraft. And I think this one probably rivals it.
Yeah, what at 225?
They're just so much fun to fly.
Well, I mean, gosh, the engines are fresh overhaul. They only got 30.7 hours on them. That's $110,000 nobody has to spend anytime soon.
Soon.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess we priced out an overhaul about 4 years back for a friend of ours, and the firewall forward with the turbocharger was about $52,000 a side, and I don't think you can do it for that anymore.
I don't think you can either.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Low time.
$52,000 a side. It really is. The prices have come up on these engines, and the parts are obviously still expendy, and they parts keep getting expensive. I don't understand how that happens in aviation.
Yeah, it's like across the board. You can take a part that's just even built for, I don't know, let's say a Chevy Corvette, and it's going to cost you $300, and you take that same part and you put aviation in the sentence or PMA, and now it's $3,500 for the same thing. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
So look at the avionics package on this thing. GTN 750, 650, the 345 transponder. So it's got ADS-B in and out already, totally compliant. Plus you get traffic and I guess you get traffic and weather, Dave.
Yeah, traffic and weather
together.
Together, yeah.
On the
Bluetooth to your iPad.
This thing, avionics package on this is primo. It's up to date.
Yep.
Yeah,
Our
looks like
friends
it
at
has a
Amstat have got some
275
numbers
in it.
for us. Hold that thought for a sec, Dave. They got some numbers for us real quick. We've got 500 of them produced. I didn't realize there's that many.
Wow, I didn't either.
386 active in the fleet. Of that, days on market over a year. Average year 1980. Average asking price 232. JJ, where are we at right now on pricing?
We're sitting here at $250 right now, and I got a chance to talk to the owner quite a bit this week, and he has put a lot of loving into this aircraft. I mean, you've already mentioned new Ram engines, new exhaust, new turbos, low engine times as it is. I mean, it's a primo aircraft.
It is.
And whoever's ready to get this, put your bids in because it's going to sell at a good price, and then we're hoping to do on an auction block.
Absolutely. Well, David, what were you saying a minute ago? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be cut you off.
It looked like it had a GI 275 in there as well as the GTN radio stack, and that's such a great little multifunction display. In this situation, I'm guessing it's in there as a standby attitude indicator, but it's amazing what you can pull up on that GI 275. You can have attitude, you can have airspeed, you can pull up your heading information on there. It's crazy. You can put I think you can put a clock on there. You can bring engine performance data on there with an additional module. It's so versatile. We've been putting the GI 275s in mostly the air tractors and the fire bosses, and they love the things. They work great.
When we talk about altitude performance, this airplane's got a really good, solid single engine performance. Nobody wants to talk about emergencies, but they occur.
Yep.
And when they do, you want all the power, all the gas you can carry, all the altitude you can get, and all the power you can carry, right? So, I mean, if you're going to fly anything higher altitude, that'd be a great mountain airplane. Great performer for mountain flying.
JJ, where are we? I think we've got about 10 seconds left on the clock.
That's right. We're at 275 right now. I know Jake's on the phone. We're trying to get some bidders up. We might have to push this from the Vectors.
That's not going to get it done. We're going to send this aircraft to Vectors to final. Again, if you have interest in this aircraft, so 30 hours on the engines, that's not going to get it done. You're going to have to open your wallet a little more on this aircraft to get it bought. If you have an interest, give us a call, 817-888-8227. Look forward to hearing from you, and we're going to be right back with you after these short messages.
Stay tuned after these commercials for a 1980 Cessna Citation II, an exceptionally well-appointed Citation Stallion, and one of our favorite aircraft, the 1999 Cessna Citation Bravo, perhaps the best example of this aircraft in the world. Right here, only at Assent Live Private Aircraft Auctions.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer. Actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Assent Aircraft Valuation Tool, calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. Amstat, information that moves you forward.
Asking 375, but I get 375. People I'm at 375. 400,000 just came in. 575 they did. Now 600, 650 currently top bid. Asking 675, 700 just came in. We have just sold the 2007 EC120B. Congrats to our buyers and sellers. Great work from our sales team. Got it moved on the auction block today. It is sold.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, Avbuyer, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Welcome back to the Beacon Bar here high above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field as we host the Assent live private aircraft auction here on June 17th. I'm Halsey Smith. This is Jeff Gilmore. And we're joined by David and Danny Brigham, co-founders of Aero Brigham, based in Decatur, Texas, and technical partners of Assent Aeronautics. We're so glad you guys are here today.
Thanks, Halsey.
We are excited about this next aircraft coming across the auction block. It's one of our first turbines on the day. I know this aircraft is highly motivated to get sold. Really nice aircraft. What is the aircraft we have coming up on the block, Mr. Brewer? Can you kick us off?
Well, number 13 is a 1980 Citation 2 SP. Serial number 31, tail number November 25, Alpha, Quebec. Opening bid of $75,000 and the auction is underway.
$75,000 opening bid. This aircraft is, I know, a candidate for the engine extension program down out of Uvalde, Texas. And I think this thing is going to get sold today on the auction block. We've got a lot of interest in it. And I think people are going to really be able to open up their wallets and buy a really nice aircraft at a very good price. These have become very popular in the last 4 or 5 months as people are looking to fly the remaining hours out of these engines on the extension program. And then they're going to sell those motors as cores, and they're basically going to end up flying the aircraft for free. And tell you what, that is an interesting deal if you're looking in the market for a Cessna Citation 2 SP single pilot. Jeff, what do you think about this aircraft?
I really love the progression we've had today, going from ultralights into some Warbird replicas and some classic trainers, some terrific twins, and now here we are. We've gone from the cream of the crop in the piston twin class to some terrific Citation aircraft. So if you're watching from home and you work for Cessna, you've got to just be leaning back in your chair, admiring your company's work, because here is the jet version of the Cessna, the Citation 2, beautiful craftsmanship inside and out.
And we're in at 75.
This is a plane that performs well, it looks great, and inside the jet category, it's pretty cheap to operate.
It is super inexpensive to operate. Danny, what do you think about the Cessna Citation 2?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when they were just coming out, and surely the Citation, at least the 1s and 2s, have got to be kind of the 172s of the bizjet world. There's so many of them out there, and they're out there because they're inexpensive to operate, and they're fast, and they're good handling, and just a good value for a turbine engine experience. And
I think you're right. I think Amstat, our friends at Amstat, have some numbers for us for these aircraft. I think they do. And they're really interesting aircraft, over the price point. 136 of the Citation 2 SP produced from 78 to 89, 65 on the active market. I'm not sure that's right. I think it's probably 1,360 is probably my guess of produced.
Well, the SP model, that might be accurate, but I can tell you that for all Citation 2 models, it's more like 3,000 that were produced.
I didn't know there's that many flying around.
probably see more of these on the ramp than anything else.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And the variable operating cost is at 12. It doesn't look right again. I think, no, it does look right. It's 2,376 service ceiling, but I don't think it's 12 passengers. I think that's 12 total bodies maybe, because 8 plus 1 plus 2.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, 6, maybe 8 total. 6 passengers, pilot, co-pilot.
I think it has a club in it. Doesn't it have a forward and rear facing club in it too?
Some of them may. The only one I've ever flown in, it's been a long time ago, and we actually flew it up to Colorado and back on a couple business excursions, actually trying to rescue a helicopter. I was surprised how well it performed getting off the ground in Colorado. The thing just leaps off the ground. It's a great little aircraft.
Yeah, they benefit from diminished complexity.
Yeah.
You know, if you add thrust reversers to them, it's just money,
and weight,
right? Like you just want it to be a simple business jet.
Yeah.
Like don't make it as easy to operate, as easy to maintain, as easy to fly as you can. Don't ask it to do more than it's supposed to, and that's the citation. I feel like people, when they buy citations and they start talking about, oh, well, it can do this if I do that. Well, every time you do that, then there's an exponential number that comes along with that because it was never designed to do that. You know, so I think that's a really interesting point of these airplanes.
It's basically keep it simple and go fast.
Yeah, that's right.
And it does those things. And I love your characterization of this. This is the 172 of business jets. I mean, this is not a simple machine, but within the realm of business jets,
right?
This is simple, and it is still really fast, and it you know, in some cases humiliates its competitors as far as the operating cost.
Yeah, I mean, not so much 172 as far as performance, certainly not, but as far as popularity, gee whiz,
and versatility.
You can't swing a pair of chocks around the ramp without hitting one of these things in most places you go to.
Can't swing a pair of chalks around the ramp without hitting one. That's awesome.
We're gonna write that one down.
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
that's another zinger.
Please don't swing
sales
chalks.
desk. Looks like we have an acceptable offer.
Awesome.
Subject to a pre-purchase inspection, a quick visual, and a quick close within 7 days. Unless it hits reserve on an as-is, whereas deal in the next 49 seconds, this aircraft will be under contract.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice to see one come under contract today.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and if you're watching and that's not you, you've still got 36 seconds to come on in. This is an auction.
That's exactly right. Real time to let the market speak, and definitely bring an opportunity here to put it under contract. So.
I think
By the way, it is a double club. Holsey, you were right with the belted lav.
The belted lav.
We've got 9, 11. So
11.
it's their Amstat. They just, thought someone might sit on somebody's lap.
I mean, surely if I had some
Child
volume
seat.
money, I'd be putting in a bid on this right now.
That's exactly right. These are great aircraft. It's 8 seconds, 7 seconds. We're counting it down. Got a huge opportunity here to put this aircraft under contract today. Jake, I think you're going to be under contract.
There we
JJ,
are.
what's the verdict?
We're pending, gentlemen, officially, and Vector's final.
Pending. There you go. Congratulations. Aircraft is selling on the auction block. All right. Well, with that momentum, let's go ahead and go to our next aircraft across the auction block. Another Cessna Citation. This one's got a few mods on it. Mr. Brewer, can you kick it off for us?
That's right. Number 14, a 1974 Citation 500 Stallion. Serial number 232, tail number November 999, Alpha Mike. The auction is on this one, and the opening bid is $100,000.
$100,000 on 999 Alpha Mike. The Stallion FJ conversion, right, Jeff?
100, yeah.
So it's got the Williams engines on a straight Cessna Citation. Is it dual pilot, though, right? Or the Stallion makes a single pilot?
I don't know if they make it single pilot, but I do know that it's the new Williams engine, so you got a lot more ponies back there pushing you, and you've got the straight CJ frame, so this is a performer.
It is a performer, and look at that.
Wow.
Cockpit up
Nice
front.
package.
Yep, that's the music right there, ladies and gentlemen. That will sing a song to you every day of the week. That's really going to reduce the workload for the captain there. These little bad boys modified down at Sierra Industries, right? That's in the Uvalde, Texas. I think that's where Mark Hostetler's gig down there, right? Who did these?
Actually, he's got a couple EC-120s we're helping him out with.
Really?
Yeah, such a nice guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's run a bunch of birds through the auction. He's a really nice guy. Look at that sofa, that couch, divan, whatever we're going to call it today.
Beautiful interior.
Yeah, beautiful interior in this aircraft, and you can't shake a stick at that. I mean, look at that thing. The only challenge with this one, it's not really a challenge if you want it, is that this one's going to cost you a little money. Those FJ engines don't come cheap, and they're on programs, and they don't come cheap at all. You got to take care of them. But the performance that you get on this aircraft is really unparalleled for the cost operations per hour with those engines. It's insane.
Well, looking at that interior, he's got a $185,000 interior in that aircraft at least. It's a gorgeous interior. And then the avionics package, I mean, whoever upgraded this aircraft, they weren't just thinking strictly about the pilot load, which they were, the dual GTN 750s and glass cockpits, but they were thinking aesthetics too, because they spent an extra couple $1,000s per radio just to get the gray bezels.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that just somebody really paid some attention to detail when they upgraded this aircraft.
Yeah. Well, I think our friends at Amstat's given us some numbers for this aircraft as well. So this is just, I think, the Cessna 500. I don't think this includes the Stallion. I don't think they did 194 modifications. I think it was more, and I think it was like 50 or 60, but I could have been wrong. And this aircraft is market average is $295. That again, that's not for the Stallion, that's for the straight 500. The days on market for these are there as well. So these numbers not exactly applicable, but certainly interesting. I think this number is correct. Is that we're looking at about $2,000 in variable operating costs, including programs. I do know it'll fly at 41, and I do know its range is right about 1,000 miles. So that is a pretty accurate indication of what the aircraft will do for you at 7 passengers. I'm a huge fan of the Stallion and the FJ modification. I actually really like the Williams engines. My adage is don't mess with the turbine until it tells you to mess with it, and then when you mess with it, better break out your checkbook. As an operator, we always look at it. I never want to split the case. I never want to open it up until the engine gives me a reason to open it up. Not the manufacturer, not the FAA. The engine needs to give me a reason to open it up. And when it does, you might as well break your checkbook.
Oh, yes, Pandora's box. Any turbine engine.
That's exactly right. You never know what you're going to find. So with this aircraft, single tire main landing gear, super performance on this thing. Jeff, do you have any of the performance numbers on a modified on a Stallion?
I was looking them up this morning, and the number that jumped out at me is on a standard day, when you take off in this thing, you can see on your VSI 6,000 feet per minute.
6,000,
and I know there's other jets that can do that, but you're talking some serious heavy iron, and you're not in this class.
No,
that's the one where I had to take another sip of coffee and say, did I read that correctly? Because that is climbing like a homesick angel.
That truly is.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And they're easy to work on. I'm not trying to diminish the fact of the maintenance, because you got to maintain every aircraft you own. But the Cessna Citation line's been out for so many years, Danny, as you said, that if you have manuals and you have common sense, you can maintain one of these. It doesn't always have to go to a service center for maintenance. You can do that. You can do basic line maintenance at home without having to spend an arm and a leg to really own a jet. It's what I'll call an affordable business jet, especially with that modification with those FJ engines.
Probably requires a little extra TLC avionics wise, because it's RVSM aircraft, can operate above flight level 290, so you got to have that little extra level of certification. But
it's not that hard.
I mean, are we talking range-wise? Are we talking Dallas to Vegas with no fuel stop, or one fuel stop? Or
it'll go to Vegas.
It'll go to Vegas.
Yeah, but it won't make Palm Springs. So,
once you get to Vegas.
I'm still working on my golf game, Danny. Vegas takes advantage of me, but the golf course doesn't, right?
How are we looking over there, JJ? We got about 10 seconds left.
Yeah, this is an example of some days we've got a lot of bidders on that are ready to put the money in, and other days we need a little bit more time. They want to actually see the aircraft, and so that's kind of what we're seeing with this Cessna 500 Stallion again. It's obviously a beautiful bird, and sometimes guys just need to feel the leather. They need to actually get in there.
And one American bidder, one bidder from the Netherlands. That's right. Looks like so.
That'd be a great aircraft for the Netherlands.
Would be great
for international.
And if you think about it, that'd be if you're EU based in the Netherlands specifically, that'd be the aircraft.
Yeah. So what kind of thrust upgrade are we talking with these Williams engines? I'm not familiar with those.
It's like double.
Yeah,
I mean,
double.
Look at the pictures again of the size of the engines compared to the aircraft, and it's not quite a Citation 10, where it's like, geez, did they put like an MD-80 engine on that business jet? But you can tell it looks like an oversized engine for a light business jet.
Yeah, 6,000 feet a minute up is just that maxes out my test set.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of an old DAR DER, where the guy was telling about with the Alamo Aerospace. His opinion of any jet or business jet is until the engine nacelle approaches the size of the fuselage, it's not enough power.
Yeah. Well, I believe that.
Yeah,
I'll do it. No, I mean, there was a 10 out on the ramp here a few minutes ago. You guys probably saw it this morning. And I love driving around them in a circle, because it's like the engine is the size of the fuselage, the tail section, and then you see it and you're just like, the only thing I don't like about that is when I get the fuel bill.
Well, this is quieter.
That's true. Well, that auction, that aircraft's going to go to Vector Stefano. We can't give it away, ladies and gentlemen. We can help you buy them, we can help you sell them, but we can't give them away. So if you got an interest in that aircraft, please give us a call at 817-888-8227 or visit our website at ascentaeronautics.com That's www.ascentaeronautics.com. The next aircraft we have coming up on the auction block is a 1999 Citation Bravo. Mr. Brewer, let's kick this auction off.
That's right. Number 15, definitely one of the stars of the auction today, a 1999 Citation Bravo, serial number 550-0895, November Foxtrot Sierra tail number. This is definitely one of the stars of the auction. The auction is underway, and the opening bid is $500,000.
$500,000 even to kick it off. This aircraft is not going to go cheap, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just kidding. I don't know where it's going to go. No, I honestly don't know the reserve of this one. This one is an aircraft that's managed and maintained by Assent Aeronautics. We have 2 full-time maintenance technicians assigned to this aircraft. It's served the owner very well. The owner needs to upgrade to a little larger aircraft, and so they've asked us to dispose of this one. It is a really, really nice aircraft, probably the finest example of a Citation Bravo in the fleet currently. This one and one that was sold by Duncan a few months ago are the 2 aircraft that really set the pace and set the field for the Bravos in the market. This aircraft is 75% JSSI, which frankly is the only knock on the entire thing, on the entire deal. Good avionics up front. It has the JetTech center console panel STC upgrade system with full ADS-B integrated to the Honeywell system. In addition to that, it's got all the bells and whistles, Whiz, TAWS, everything you can imagine, and has a very interesting and strong in-flight entertainment system with media package. Good galley up front. It comes preloaded because it's an Assent managed and maintained aircraft, so it never leaves the ground with a fully stocked galley, and without a fully stocked galley, actually. And this aircraft is a beauty. I think we have some AMSAT numbers here to share on this aircraft as well. This aircraft, there were roughly 336 of them produced, with 311 in the active fleet. Of the active fleet, the average asking price, $1.4 million. Days on market has come down drastically. It was over 300. Now we're down to 161. Total for sale or lease is 24. That's down from 47 1 year ago. And the percent for sale or lease is less than 10% of the market. So it is a seller's market on these aircraft right now currently, and the market is only getting tighter in these particular airframes. This aircraft is offered a couple different ways. You'd have to talk with the sales desk as to how you want to enter your bid on this aircraft. It's offered with a PPI provided by the seller with a holdback, and it's also offered on an as-is, where-is basis. So you can put your bid in either way, and we can reach the buyer here or the seller on the phone. I actually happen to have him on speed dial if we need to make a quick decision, and we can make this aircraft yours for a new home. Jeff, you and I have flown in this one. You have some time in it.
I've been up in the pointy end, and it is a rocket ship. It's a beautiful display of technology and situational awareness. The plane looks gorgeous on the outside. I've never sat in the cabin, but the pictures, they speak for themselves. It's a top-notch business jet inside and out, and it performs like one.
It really does. I'll never forget the first landing you had in that airplane coming back from Austin, Texas, and you greased it on there at Fort Worth Spinks, and it only had like 4 hours in the airplane in your first ever landing, and wow. I thought it was our chief pilot landing the plane, and it turned out to be you.
Well,
so kudos to you for a nice smooth landing there on your first flight in the Citation Bravo.
I think that speaks to Cessna. If an idiot like me can land this thing, but it was a lot of fun to fly. It really flew on rails. Solid as a King Air, but fast as a Falcon.
In a 950.
Hats off to Cessna on this one because it's a beautiful plane.
This one is beautiful. It's got a fresh paint job. On top of that, we've shaken down all the bugs. This aircraft has over a 99.9% dispatch reliability. It broke for the first time this last week. When I say that, the first time I missed a trip in 2.5 years. We had a cannon plug that was loose that had a little bit of a short in it in the throttle quadrant, and caused the gear not to want to react without that cannon plug being tightened down. There was a screw that was stripped from an inspection a few years ago, and that's the first thing that we've had that's caused us to miss a trip in
1-1.
2.5 years. And you know what? I'll take that every damn day of the week.
Pretty awesome. It's a really good dispatch rate. We got about 20 seconds on the clock here, Halsey, and I think I heard 1.1 million from the sales desk.
Yep. We're at 115. We have 13 seconds left, and I am getting a call from a buyer. So I need a 1-minute extension. Halsey, will you grant it to me?
I'll give you a 1-minute extension here.
I'll allow it.
Yep. So it's a good 1-minute extension. We're at 115 on the auction block here today with the Citation Bravo. Good aircraft, good opportunity. Somebody, I'm not sure 115 will get it done.
I don't either. I mean, that's not nothing, but this plane is far from nothing. This plane is a fast, high class machine.
Well, what's a paint job worth on something like this? About $80,000.
Paint job on this aircraft would be worth, last time that I got bill, I'll tell you what a bill was. It was $67,500. And then when we resprayed the tail they had an error. They didn't put the tail number on with the right shadow.
Oh, okay.
And so they had to respray. We ended up respraying the tail. It cost about $7,000 because it's a 3-color shadow on the tail number.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And that was a really interesting paint job. Plus, you have to rebalance the rudder with that. Oh. So it was a spendy situation. But just the paint job alone on this airplane is worth quite a bit of money. So,
yeah, today's market and the cost of materials, I'll bet it's going to top a little over $100,000 to strip. If you were to completely strip and paint that, which is the only right way to do it, going to be just over $100,000.
It should have been a $100,000 paint job because we had to go back and redo all the bonding straps because the paint shop was a bunch of buffoons that didn't connect them.
Wow.
So
That's not good.
We had a radio buzz. We couldn't figure out what the hell it was.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we thought older radios, we start there, right? Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, our director of maintenance, Mike. Yeah. He's so thorough. He's like, they started pulling boxes. He said, well, before we ship these off, I'm going to check the flaps and ailerons. And the paint shop didn't get them. They didn't. When they sprayed everything, they didn't clear the paint.
Okay.
So they didn't have a good connection between the bonding straps.
Burnish them. That's terrible.
It is a waste of money. So going back on it, I don't think that we probably should have paid more for the paint job.
that was an expertly executed delay for the sales desk.
And it was
bring us some results.
It was worthwhile, gentlemen. We have an acceptable offer on the Citation Bravo with a pre-purchase inspection at a mutually agreeable service center. It is selling off the block today. We will move this to the pending status under contract. Congratulations, sales team. For the
Nice work. Congratulations, guys. That's great. Great to see that come across the block today. So with that, we're going to step aside for a few seconds. We'll be right back after these messages. 9 MD500 crosses the block, along with a pair of Lear 55s. In 1981, it's exceptionally well appointed, and a 1984 aircraft that is ready to be called yours. Stay tuned and stay with us after these messages.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer. Actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Assent aircraft valuation tool, Calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. AMSTAT. Information that moves you forward.
Woke up this morning with the sunrise in my eyes. Just like a new day, a breath of fresh air in my life. I don't know how, don't know why, but I'll be toasting all my life.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, Avfire, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Welcome back to the Assent Live Private Aircraft Auctions here at the Beacon Bar of high above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation Dallas Love Field. We're happy to have you with us again. As we close out our auction here today, we've got a pair of Lear 55s getting ready to cross the auction block along with an MD 500. We look forward to it. Mr. Brewer, what is the next aircraft we have coming across the auction block?
Well, the next aircraft is lot number 16, 1984 Learjet 55, serial number 108, tail number November 855 November Charlie. The auction is underway on this great aircraft, and the opening bid is $100,000.
$100,000 for this Lear 55. Now, the wife and I had a Lear 31 under contract back in December. Ended up doing a deal with that, and we didn't put it in the hangar. And I went down. This aircraft's actually here at Jet Aviation. We brought it in for the show and set in that aircraft. It is very compelling. So for this aircraft, it's got to go. Okay, seller's highly motivated. Wants it gone. Can't give it away, but it's on 100% MSP engine program, and it has a German history to it, and the logbooks are fairly meticulous. So with 100% MSP, the interior is a little bit dated. It does have some older school, side panels and whatnot in the aircraft. But the lavatory is full stand-up category, and it needs some music up front. But for what you can buy this aircraft for, I'm actually glad we didn't end up with the 31, because I may be a player in Vectors to Final on this. I don't bid in the auctions because it wouldn't be fair and right. But if it goes to Vectors to Final, all fair in love and war, this one might be one that
I'm going to hold you to that.
This might be one that we end up bidding with, Jeff. I just love the lines of these aircraft, and they're really beautiful. And it's a little bit bigger tube than the 31. And me, with my football player body, I fit into this one a little bit better than that tiny Lear 31.
Well, to that point, Toby Keith, the country star, Toby Keith, since he's hit it big, he's always flown in Learjets, and he's had a 55. And what he says is it looks cool,
125,
and he can fit in it. Yeah. I don't think Toby Keith knows a whole lot about how fast these things are, but man, I mean, Bill Lear, when he started Learjet, he based his planes off of fighter jets, and you can see that back when he built his first ones. You can see that here in this 55 model, and you can still see it today. And I think Learjet is just synonymous with business jet cool, and you can see that in the lines like you described. Even in these older models.
Mm-hmm. The only thing with this one that I would do is put a Garmin upgrade up front. But we know the guys at Aero Brigham. I don't know if you guys do Lears, but we could probably talk you into it.
I don't know what you get
have in the
airfield.
past. Our problem with the Lear 55, I don't know if it get in and out of our 4,200-foot runway. That could be a challenge.
That might be a problem. It
has to be pretty light.
Yeah.
It has to be a light runway.
Well, Alliance is close. He could leave light on fuel and stop.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's you'd still be legal to get in and out of Farragut over there.
Yeah. My personal opinion, the Lear 55, 65 is one of the sexiest biz jets ever to wear a winglet.
Yeah.
And they are fast, like 540 mile an hour cruise, and range almost 2,500 miles on a fill up, and doing it really quick, as quick as any jetliner, certainly.
Yeah.
Does anyone know what the service ceiling of a 55 is? This is the most interesting fact of a 55.
I'm going to take a guess and say
I was thinking 51.
58.
51 is correct.
Well, 51 is correct.
This thing has got some lungs, and it
that's
can
pretty
get
amazing.
up high.
Wow, so the bleeder off that thing to pressurization just must be massive. Yeah,
got to be at that altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that and they just closed the outflow valves down. You know?
Yeah. That's incredible.
That's
I'm a
great
huge fan.
pressurization system.
This one is all white, so it's ready for somebody to stripe. So that's exciting. It does need some music up front, as we talked about, but with engines on 100% MSP and a D check or a 12-year inspection in 2019 with a D-mate, you're good for a few years. And that's always been my hang up with the Lears is I don't ever want to have to go through a 12-year inspection where they D-mate them because you're out of service for like 3 months.
Fun. I haven't done one on a 55 years ago. I worked at a place that had a Lear 25, and we did the D-mate on the 25, and that one was terrible. I can't imagine on that much larger an airframe. It can't be any better.
No. But they sure are fun aircraft. And I know it has the Vapor Air Cycle AC machine. No APU, but you can plug them in, which is my preference for the AC because then you don't have to have the weight. But I don't fly to small airports that often anymore. Every once in a while, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, I'm out in the country where there's really no support. But now there's so much support because ground support equipment has become so much less expensive. Like even when we were out in Olney at Air Tractor, right, the little FBO there, the one-room FBO had a GPU, and it's amazing what aircraft, what the support is when you need it with these aircraft. No Wi-Fi in this one, no Wi-Fi, no special, no upgrades in the back. You're gonna have to put a little bit of money in the cabin to be fun. But it does have a potty for mama and babies. So maybe I can convince my wife of this one with that one, Jeff. What do you think?
You'd be going somewhere real fast if you got this one.
Just tell her all the money you'd save for the paint job. All you do is tape it off and sand it and add some color to it. Gee whiz,
If I put purple, she might actually do it.
There you go. And
Jeff,
we'll help you with the avionics and interior.
JJ, what do we have here with this aircraft?
So we've gotten some action, international action. 2 guys from the U.S., 1 guy from Mexico, looks like. This bird had inspections recently done, 2018, 2019, at Bombardier, at the service center. So we're not talking about a neglected Learjet here. You just got the 12-year coming up. And that's the inspection that no one really wants to hold the potato unless it's been really well maintained from.
I thought the 12-year was done in 19. I'm sorry.
Yeah, completed in 2009.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
2009.
Yep. Misread it.
But it's ADSB out. You've got both the medevac conversion and the VIP configurations. It's a very versatile aircraft if you wanted to go Part 91, Part 135, medevac. It can really do it all, and it does it fast, as you guys said. JJ, do we have any more time left on the clock?
We're vectors to final, yes, sir.
So we are vectors to final on this one. So we're going to follow up with those buyers, see if we can put a deal together.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, guys, on that one. That buyers and sellers, if you have an interest in this Lear 55, November 855, November Charlie, give us a call, 817-888-8227, or check out our website, Assent Aeronautics or AssentAero.com. Our next aircraft, Mr. Brewer, let's kick it off. It's another Lear 55. What do we got going?
Oh, that's right. Number 16 had a ton of interest, and this is number 17. I expect it'll have a ton of interest as well. 1981 Lear 55, serial number 12, tail number November 558 Romeo Juliet. Great aircraft up for auction on the block today. Auction is underway with an opening bid of $100,000.
$100,000. Now, this aircraft does have Wi-Fi, so it is extremely well appointed, and it's probably the most well appointed Lear 55 in the entire fleet.
Yeah,
it is amazing.
This one, as you say, is Gucci. It's just as fast as any other 55. I was looking; these airplanes are big. They look sleek, so it's almost deceiving, but they're big. They weigh essentially twice as much as a CJ2, which is not a small airplane.
I had no idea they weighed that much. Do you know what the weights are on these airplanes? I think our friends at Amstead probably have some numbers for us too on that.
Okay.
But I am curious as to this. This has the upgraded interior with the new style seating, new style cocoon around the cabin, which is really nice. And it does have the single facing rear seat next to the exit door across from the potty, which is pretty standard in this configuration. And then this aircraft is configured with in-flight Wi-Fi as well. As far as the production numbers, 126 of these were produced.
We're in at 150.
98 are in the active market. Market averages, their asking price is $652, And then the days on market is 446, and that's about right. These market is tightening. There were about 30 of these for sale a year ago, and now we're only seeing 14 for sale. And with that, it's a 14%. So it's still pretty fair market. It's still pretty much anybody's game, buy and the sell market. Below 10%, we start considering it a seller's market. And now we see this opportunity. A 225 number just coming in from the sales desk. I'm blown away by this cabin. I think it's really special. And this light woodwork, I've always...
Oh, it's pretty.
It's beautiful. That white light wood.
This looks like a Brigham Arrow level interior right here.
It does. And light woodwork, you know, you can't hide your imperfections, right?
No.
When you have light wood.
Everything shows up.
Well, the interior was completely refurbished in 2018, exterior 2017, and I told JJ when he signed this thing, I said, if this thing pulled up onto the ramp, you'd think it was a Lear 60 XR. It's on a 135 certificate out of New York. Wi-Fi, I mean, you just don't get, sorry, I'm getting called by the seller. But
to finish his thought, you don't get an aircraft like this very often. I mean, it's an incredibly well-maintained aircraft. It's obviously gorgeous, interior and exterior. It's ready to go for whoever's ready for it.
That's right.
Look at the sales guys finishing each other's sentences.
I know.
They've been doing this a while. They're pretty good.
You know, I'm a little nervous. They spend too much time together. You know,
I did just get married.
They finish their own sentences. They, you know, I think both their wives miss them right now, especially auction week, right? And,
we just had a bid come in at $400,000.
$400,000 bid on this bad boy. Look at that cabin wood. I just am blown away. And those folding tables,
so good.
Yeah, and they have the seats that come out into the aisle. So even though the cabin is exceptionally tall, you get even more room in that little Garmin in the front, interfacing there with the old or older style 6-pack, and then the Gates Learjet door badge. That's, you know, famous in the Lear line. They always put that heavy duty door badge. I love that.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, there it's always it's just so compelling, right?
Well, plus, you know, since it's operated on a 135 certificate, air tax certificate, you know, working from Jet, that you know, it's well maintained. It has to be well maintained to maintain on 135.
Yeah, well maintained. So that aircraft, it should be a really great option for somebody today. This one's probably the other end of the spectrum from the one that's, you know, Sister Bird we just had on the block before it. The other one was probably, you know, a project aircraft, to be completely blunt about it. Well, I would say project, but it needs a little bit of TLC. This aircraft's a buy and flyer, right?
Yep.
It's
turnkey.
Yeah, it surely seems nice. I like the striping as well on this aircraft. And, you know, these Lears, you just can't beat them with a stick. We've got 34 seconds left. We're going to need some more bids to send this to keep this in overtime. We don't have enough to keep it from Vectors to final right now. Hopefully we'll find a bid that's going to hit pretty quick. I know Jake's phone's blowing up. I'm seeing a lot of action on the company phone system here too. We'll see what happens and see if we can't get something done in the next 10 or 15 seconds. With the sales team. So this aircraft will be nice to see it sell on the block today. Okay. Really beautiful. That lavatory is, you know, makes or breaks it for me. It's a beautiful, beautiful aircraft. I just think it's great. Refurb, paint was in 17, interior 18, Garmin 430, 530, phase 1 and 1A mods, ADS-B fully compliant. It's got a gaming center with in-flight video system, nice. Iridium sat phone, and 4G GoGo Wi-Fi. That's the preferable Wi-Fi system for this aircraft. We're going to roll it. And we're going to go ahead and send this aircraft to Vectors to final. Just not close enough to keep that aircraft into the overtime. Going to have a little bit more money than that. We can't give them away. Can't give them away here, Jeff. You know, people keep asking me to give them away. Can't do that. We gotta have a real number. But with that, let's go to our final aircraft of the day. We have an aircraft that is can you bring it to us?
Number 18, this is the last aircraft today, and it's 2009 MD 500E, serial number 0594, tail number November 421 Kilo Yankee. This is, like I said, the last auction item across the block today. Starting bid on this aircraft is $750,000. The auction is on, and we're underway.
This aircraft, it's been a little bit of a waffle story this week. It was going to be pulled from the auction because we were told by the buyer that they had a contract. Then the buyer told us they didn't have a contract. And then they told us they wanted to run it across the auction. So this aircraft is seemingly available right now. We don't have a contract on it, so we're going to send it across the block and see if we can't sell this thing. I'm an MD fan. I love MD helicopters. I don't know enough about this one to recommend it or not, but I do know that they are, these aircraft are incredible, and this is right in y'all's wheelhouse. What do you guys think about a 2009 MD 500E?
E has great power. It looks good. The rotor system is a little trickier to track and bounce than some of the other helicopters, but when you get them right, when you hover, it's just like sitting on a 4x4 fence post. It's just rock solid. Super maneuverable. It's like slapping an engine to your tailbone and going flying, right, Dave?
Yeah, they're such a great performer. It really is a sports car of the helicopter world. They're amazingly agile. Nice thing about them is they're simple. There's no hydraulic system, so there's maintenance is easy, relatively easy on these for a helicopter. You don't have to worry about hydraulic servos, anything leaking like that. The gearbox is just bulletproof. You almost never have problems with the transmission or the tail rig gearbox. It's a great workhorse. If you wanted to put a cargo hook on it and go out and put it to work, it's absolutely it's an icon in the utility market.
What? How many of them did they make? Do you know? They're still in production, right?
Yeah, they're still in production. Actually, I don't know how many they've made.
Just thousands.
Thousands. They've been around forever.
Yeah.
All the different variants from the original A models, which is an OH-6 that the Loach the Army flew.
Yeah.
If you get away from the military and just the civilian side, they start out with the A models, the C models, and they go up to the Ds, the Es, the Fs, FFs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're incredible. Can you upgrade an MD500 like you can a Bell? So can you put engine upgrades in them, and can you upgrade like the rotor heads and the transmissions and whatnot, or is it?
Not so much. So the E model, there is an upgrade. You can put a C20R in it to give you a little bit more high performance, but the aircraft really doesn't need it. The next step from there, you can go back to the factory and you can take an E model, turn it into an FF model. Now you're adding, so you've gone from a C20 to a C30P.
Yep.
Maybe added some serious high performance. And longer rotor blades, they actually stretch the tail boom. They don't really stretch the tail boom. They put it, looks like a piece of sewer pipe in the middle between the tail rotor gearbox and the tail boom, just to get the tail rotor blades and the vertical stabilizer away from the main rotor blades, because they're 11 inches longer. More lift capability, more responsiveness. The FF model, or now that in production, it's just a straight F model.
Right.
That's the cream of the crop for utility in that category of aircraft.
Yeah, I rode an E around the Uinta Mountains outside of Salt Lake City a couple years back. We went up to do a pre-buy. Oh my goodness, mountains, who cares? Beautiful. Flew great, had oodles of power.
They're incredible. Well, this aircraft, I know we've had a little technical challenge with our clock, so we are going to end up running it with the production house in the production room. So we've got a little under 2 minutes remaining from what I'm told. I don't think we're seeing a lot of action on this aircraft, hardly at all. I just not sure this is going to be one that we're going to be able to sell today with the interest level out there. Perhaps if it hadn't have been a little bit rough this week, we would have been able to work with some more buyers. But having told it was under contract and then not under contract, it's really hard to manage that on a last minute basis. So doing the best we can here with this aircraft today. If you have interest in it, please give us a call at 817-888-8227 or check out our website at assentaero.com. We're more than happy to try to facilitate this. I think the bird in my ears telling me we've got about a minute left on this aircraft. And I don't think, where's the action? We're still under 750,000, aren't we? Yeah. I don't think the markets are there. So the market, in helicopters, you guys know, has been so just decimated. And it's just, it's so tied to basic materials that it really just hasn't come back yet. And certain operators, people are rather buy an aircraft from an operator they know, and that takes care of their birds and spend, a little bit more money than step out and buy an aircraft from somebody they don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this being from a fleet maintained aircraft from a single owner is probably harder to buy in this market space than others, in that space right now.
Yeah, I think so.
But it'll be an interesting deal. Hopefully this will come through with them, and we'll be able to put a deal together in Vectors to Final. Here we've got about 30 seconds remaining on the clock at the moment in my ear. And sorry about the technical challenges there with the clock, but we've got a good team in the production booth that are telling us that we've got a 5-minute rundown there to make sure that we're taking care of it as well. So, one of the things about the MD500 that I love before we go to Vectors to Final is it differentiates pilots, in my opinion. So if you have touch on the cyclic with these aircraft, it really shows you who's a stick and who's not. Because it takes so little to get this aircraft to perform.
Yeah, it's so sensitive on the cyclic. If you think left, the aircraft's going.
Yeah,
you don't have to move the cyclic to the left to get a response. You just kind of think a little bit of pressure, and over it goes.
It's not the 172 of
no, pretty much not. No,
not forgiving.
These 500Es are little sports cars.
Yeah.
This one's got a little 530 watts in it. It's got a little 345 transponder, so you got ADS begin and out. So it's got some decent avionics in it. The interior looks nice.
Yeah. No, I think it absolutely is. It's Southern California based, and it's got an opportunity, like you said. So,
got the wider
how are we
instrument
looking,
panel.
JJ?
Well, we've got a little bit of action right here at the end, but I think it's a little bit of tire kickers, and so we're still a ways away from the reserve price. And again, Halsey, like you said, it gets difficult when we go back and forth on is it sold, is it not, because we lose out on that bidder conversation. This last week here is when a lot of the conversation picks up, and we see registered bidders come in, we see folks who are interested, and so it's kind of what happened today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm hearing the clock is out, and with that, we'll send this one to Vectors to final. We certainly hope if you have any interest, please give us a call back at 817-888-8227 or check out our website again at assentaero.com. Love to have you. Check that out, and we'll be right back with you from the Beacon Bar after these messages.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preferences for a tailored search experience. Check out the latest price data on jet models, updated weekly from our data partners. Make informed decisions by viewing detailed buyer's guides and aircraft comparisons, videos and podcasts from our leading industry experts, as well as specialist hubs on relevant key areas. AvBuyer. Actionable intelligence for business aviation.
Aero Brigham, founded by David and Danny Brigham in Decatur, Texas, is a family-owned business that brings a sense of pride to every single aircraft that comes across their shop floor. They're one of the few MROs in the world that can truly handle every aspect of your helicopter from tip to tail. If you're in need of helicopter service, your first call and only call should be to Aero Brigham in Decatur, Texas.
Amstat, the leading provider of business aviation market research. The only market research company dedicated to providing business aviation market data. Accurate and up-to-date, keeping you informed of market conditions and trends. Provider of a powerful set of tools that turn business aviation market data into sales opportunities, including an integration with the Salesforce CRM. And the Assent Aircraft Valuation Tool, calculating objective serial number specific aircraft values. Amstat, information that moves you forward.
Woke up this morning with the sunrise in my eyes. Just like a new day, a breath of fresh air in my life. I don't know how, don't know why, but I'll be toasting all my life.
The Assent Aeronautics live private aircraft auction is sponsored by Aero Brigham, AvBuyer, Jackson Walker, Amstat, and Aircraft Shopper Online.
Today's auction is complete and in the books. Join us on Thursday, July 22nd at 1 p.m. Central for our next Assent Live private aircraft auction. And check out our television series, Straight and Level, the currently most watched aviation show on television on the AWE network, or stream it live on YouTube. I'm Halsey Smith, and for Jeff Gilmore, David Brigham, Danny Brigham, Jake Bangelsdorf, Jonathan Johnston, and everyone here with Assent Aeronautics, so long, and blue skies to all. From the Beacon Bar, high above Hangar 1 at Jet Aviation, Dallas Love Field. Thank you, and so long.
See the latest aircraft for sale worldwide on avbuyer.com. Refine your preference